A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Jerry at Fair Oaks.
Your name is on the list to try out for the mounted drill team. Is that right, Jerry?
Yes, sir.
Right on the top, too.
I suppose you're glad about that, aren't you, Jerry?
Yes, sir, I sure am. Hope I make it, too.
You know about the Hunter Craig trophy?
Yes, sir. If we win it from Edson in this next contest, it becomes the property of Farrell's.
That's right. And we want that trophy. We very nearly won it last year, but the judges thought the jumps of the Fair Oaks team weren't quite as clean as those of the EMI.
Well, they will be this year, sir, especially if Jerry makes the team.
You're not modest, are you, Jerry?
All I know is if I make the team, I'll do the very best I can.
And I think that will be sufficient. Oh, just a minute. Look at that smokestack on the powerhouse there. Reaching majestically for the sky. An imposing sight, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
A pretty color, too. That pale gray against a background of white clouds.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's strange that some of the cadets think it would look better if it had the letters FMA smeared on it in gaudy blue paint.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, come on. I'm glad that you agree with me that the stack looks better plain gray.
Oh, yes, sir. Much better. Don't you think so, Jerry?
Oh, yeah, sure it does. Say, Major Davis.
Yes?
I completely forgot. When I went into your office, I wanted to ask you something, but when you told me Sergeant Alden wanted to see me, it slipped my mind.
What was it?
Oh, well, sir, I got a letter from Mr. Randall, and he said he was sending me a surprise. I was just wondering if some sort of a package came for me.
No, there was no package for you in the mail today.
That's funny. Mr. Randall said that the surprise should reach here about the same time as the letter.
Oh, I guess it takes a little longer for packages, huh?
Yes, it sometimes does. Oh, there's Sergeant Alden now. He's waiting for you.
Gee, he looks so stern. I wonder if he's angry about something.
Hello, Major Davis.
Hello, Sergeant.
Oh, I have something to take up with you, Cadet Dugan.
Yes, sir. I just got your message and came right out here, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, just come with me now.
Yes, sir.
May we come along?
Oh, yes, do. Oh, you too, Cadet Phillips.
I could have been here sooner, but I didn't know you wanted to see me today. Oh, and thanks for putting my name on the list.
Well, I hope you make it, Dugan. You know, I'd like to have you on the team.
What are we coming back here to the stalls for?
I just wanted to ask you something about, you'll see.
This is your horse, isn't it, Sergeant Alden?
Oh, yes, that's right.
He's a pretty animal, Lee.
Yes, he is. They're very pretty.
That was Sergeant Alden's mount when he was in the Army.
Was that so? I didn't know that.
Oh, right here, Dugan, in this next stall. Take a look at that horse and tell me...
Splendor! Oh, gee. Why, it's Splendor. Hey, look, Lee, Major Davis. Hey, it's Splendor from the circus. Oh, Splendor, am I glad to see you? Oh, gee, and you're glad to see me, too, aren't you, fella? Hey, where did he come from, Sergeant Alden? I mean, well, Well, how did he get here? Lee, isn't he a beauty?
He sure is, Jerry. Gee, so that's Splendor.
I figured you'd be glad to see him.
Glad, say, oh, boy, well, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Hey, can I go in the stall and pet him?
Sure, go right ahead.
Oh, gee, Splendor, I'm so glad to see you.
It appears the boy is very much fond of that horse.
Yes, it looks like a pretty nice friendship.
Major Davis.
Yes, Lee.
Isn't that the surprise Mr. Randall sent?
Yes, that's right. Jerry's so excited it hasn't dawned on him yet.
Well, he told me many times how much he thought of that horse. This is great, isn't it, Major Davis?
I didn't expect to see a welcome like that from either the horse or Jerry.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you some more in a minute, Splendor. But first I gotta find out what this is all about. Say, tell me, Sergeant Alden. Well, I don't understand.
Well, I think it best we let Major Davis do the explaining.
Well, Jerry, that's the surprise Mr. Randall mentioned in his letter to you.
Oh, sure. He said I might add a big surprise.
Well, is it big enough?
Well, I couldn't want anything more.
I'll explain it to you, Jerry. I'll tell you why Splendor's here at Fair Oaks.
Yes, sir.
Now, it seems that you wrote Mr. Randall that you were trying out for the polo team.
Yes, sir, I did, but that was some time ago.
Oh, yes, I know. But as soon as Mr. Randall received your letter, he wrote me and asked if it would be permissible to send you your own mount if you made the team.
Oh, I see.
I answered his letter and gave him the ruling. That is, that no cadet is allowed to have his own horse at the academy. Now then, he wrote back and wanted to know if we would accept Splendor as a gift from him to Fair Oaks. I thought this over for a couple of days, and then wrote him that we would accept his kind offer and appreciate the gift very much. But I added that you wouldn't be allowed to ride Splendor unless you took part in some of the equestrian activities.
Yes, sir.
You understand now, Splendor belongs to Fair Oaks Military Academy.
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Alden.
Yes, sir?
Did I mention to you that Mr. Randall informed me that a Mr. Whitey said Splendor had been trained as a jumper?
Yes, sir. I believe you did say something about his being a jumper.
Why? Gee, he told me he was going to make a good jumper out of Splendor. Splendor's mother was a wonderful jumper.
Well, the horse certainly shows very good early training.
I broke him in. I was the first one that ever rode him.
Yeah, that explains the friendship between you two, then.
And I nursed him through pneumonia. Gee, he was awful sick. Pretty nearly died.
Well, seems that you know more about horses than I thought you did.
Well, Whitey told me what to do. He's had charge of horses with circuses for years. He knows plenty about them.
I should think he would.
Oh, by the way, I'm calling the boys for the riding test tomorrow afternoon. I'll give you a call right now. I want you to be here right after class.
Yes, sir, I will. And may I try out on Splendor?
Would that be giving Dugan an advantage over the other boys?
I don't think so, Major. But I'll tell you what I had in mind to do, Dugan.
Yes, sir.
Now, inasmuch as Splendor is pure white...
And beautiful, too.
That's right, Major. I thought we'd try to use him as a pivot horse on the drill team.
He'd look very well in pivot position.
Now, you see, Dugan, all the other horses on the team are bays, and I thought that the contrast would be very good if he were to hold down the pivot spot.
Excuse me, am I interrupting?
No, not at all, Morrison. Come in.
Hello, Sergeant Alden.
Oh, hello, Morrison.
Dugan, Phillips.
Hiya.
We were just talking about Jerry's horse. This one here.
Jerry's horse?
Well, not exactly. You see, Mr. Randall, Jerry's guardian, just made a present of Splendor to the academy.
That's what I call a fine animal. Splendor, huh?
That's right.
Hello, Splendor.
A real circus pony, Morrison.
And a beauty.
What were you saying about the pivot position, Sergeant Alden?
Well, there isn't very much more to say, that's all. But I'd like to use him in that spot if I can. And I think he can do the work all right.
Pivot position on horseback is the same as in drill, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that means that Splendor will have to stand still while the other horses go around in different formations.
That's right. You see, that not only takes a good horse, but it takes a good rider as well.
Well, I think I could do it all right. May I try out for that position?
Why, surely. I'll be glad to have you.
I'd like to put in my bid for that pivot position, Sergeant Alden.
Well, all right, Morrison. I'll give you your call now. It's tomorrow afternoon, just as fast as you can get here after class.
Yes, sir.
Then whoever gets the pivot position gets to ride Splendor.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'll have 3 of you trying out. You and Morrison and, Paul Warren.
Gee, I hope I make it.
May the best man win.
I wouldn't mind riding Splendor myself. It's safe to say we'll all try hard for that position.
Is that all now, Sergeant Alden?
Yes, I think so, as far as I'm concerned. But, how about you, Major?
Well, that's all, Jerry. I just wanted to come out here and be with you to see how you take your surprise. And it was worth the walk to see the expression on your face.
Goodbye, Splendor. See you tomorrow. Yes, I will.
Well, Major, there's no doubt about that little horse remembering him.
Yes, as you said, Sergeant. There's a real friendship there.
You ready, Lee? I want to get right back to the room and get a letter off to Mr. Randall before dinner.
Okay, Jerry.
Excuse us, please?
Surely. Go right ahead.
I'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, sir. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I want to write to Mr. Randall right away and thank him.
Mm-hmm, you should. In fact, he said in his letter for you to write him right away and let him know how you liked the surprise.
Boy, wasn't that a surprise, though.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you didn't know about it, did you?
No, I was just as surprised as you were.
Well, you know, I don't like the idea of somebody else riding Splendor, though. I think I should get to ride him.
Well, don't worry about that. I think you'll get to ride him all right.
But did you notice right away Red put in his bid for pivot position?
Mm-hmm.
That's just because he'd like to ride Splendor.
Yeah, you might be right about that. I don't know. But I wouldn't let it worry me any if I were you.
Don't you think Mr. Randall would want me to ride Splendor?
Yes, I guess he would. But he gave Splendor to the school with the understanding...
Oh, I know what you're going to say, but just the same,
Will
I
you
feel
stop
funny.
worrying till the time comes?
Isn't he a swell little horse, though?
Oh, as pretty a horse as I've ever seen, Jerry. You know, the thing that got me was the way he knew you. He knew you right away. The second he set eyes on you. You could just see it in his face.
Yeah. And did you see the way he kicked around in his stall and whinnied?
Mm-hmm.
Gee, that sure brings back memories of the circus. I've been so busy since I've been here, I haven't had much time to think about it. But I sure miss the animals and the clowns in makeup and the band playing and the lions and the crowds. And...
What are you trying to do? Sell me on the idea of running away and joining a circus?
Well, I guess I am talking too much. But I just got to thinking.
Do you figure on being with a circus when you grow up?
Oh, I don't know. Mr. Randall didn't do so bad. He started with the circus when he was just a boy and wound up owning his own show.
Yeah, and it's one of the biggest circuses, too, isn't it?
I'll say it is.
You know, whenever I think about a circus, I think about the wild animal trainers. That's the job I'd like.
Who wouldn't? And don't think they don't make money, either. Jason is one of the highest-paid trainers in the world. He gets plenty.
It's risky, though.
Sure it is, but exciting. Jason always said that the excitement kept his nerve up.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down up there.
Uh-oh, here comes Red.
Now what's he want?
Slow down, Jerry. And now listen, don't forget to salute. We're not in work clothes today, so there's no use starting trouble.
No, okay.
That's a grand horse the circus sent us.
What do you mean, us?
He belongs to the school now. Did you used to ride him when you were with the circus?
Uh-huh.
I guess they let anybody ride choice animals in a circus. But here at Fair Oaks, it's different. Splendor's much too good for a plebe to ride. I wouldn't say that. But I said it. And what's more, I'm going to make it my business to ride Splendor.
We'll see about that.
Okay, we will see about that. Don't forget, Dugan, that horse is school property, and you have no more claim on him than I have or anyone else.
Is that so?
Yes, that's so. And what's more, you can bet your uniform you won't be riding him on the mounted drill team.
This is David Harding. Because of the importance of tonight's Counterspy case, following our dramatization, there will be a special message from the Vice President of the United States of interest to all Americans.
Pepsi-Cola, P-E-P-S-I. That's your smartest cola buy. Pepsi-Cola presents Counterspy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy. Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Harding, Counterspy, calling Washington.
United States Counterspies, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad. Tonight, the case of a courageous come-on. Another Counterspy report to the American people. Brought to you each Tuesday and Thursday by Pepsi-Cola.
Pepsi-Cola, hit the spot. 2 full glasses, that's a lot.
That's right, you heard what they said. 2 full glasses of sparkling Pepsi from one big 12-ounce bottle. You're getting an extra glassful. And what a delicious glassful. The most refreshing, delightful cola that ever tickled your taste. You can't top Pepsi's tangy flavor. And that big, big bottle saves you money. Goes twice as far. Pepsi is America's big, big favorite. And America's biggest cola value. So why take less when Pepsi's best? Whenever you reach for refreshment, remember,
Why take less when Pepsi's best?
And now, to Counterspy. It is a scene truly out of the Old West. A dance and gambling hall crowded with hard-riding, fast-shooting men enjoying themselves, but at any moment ready for action. Suddenly, the swinging doors fly open. A tall, languid cowpoke stands framed in them. The crowd quiets down as the cowpoke ambles to the bar and stops in front of a well-dressed, shifty-eyed man.
Well, dude, it's sundown, and I'm still in town.
You don't take advice easy, Steve Morgan.
I'm choosy about whose advice I take, dude. I don't like yours. I give you 5 seconds to draw.
Now, look, Steve, you don't want to...
Okay, that's it. Cut! Camera will print that take. All right, boys, clear the set so we can do the fight scene next. Oh, Gary!
Well, how did it go, my great director? Okay?
Swell. Great, strong draw stuff.
Thanks.
You've got a visitor, Gary. Dr. Hobart Wayland. This is Gary Marlowe. Steve Morgan in this picture we're shooting.
Well, how do you do, Mr. Marlowe? It's quite a thrill meeting you in person after seeing you in so many films.
Well, thank you, Doctor.
May I present my assistant, James Dover?
Oh, hello, Mr. Dover. Oh, it's all right, Mr. Marlowe. I can shake hands with my left. Get used to it after being without a right arm a couple of years. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice. Okay. Everyone spots the leg first.
Mr. Marlowe, is there somewhere we could talk privately?
Why, my dressing room. Just follow me.
To get to the point, Mr. Marlowe, I'm heading the Institute for Disabled Workers, and we're embarking on a large fundraising campaign.
Well, maybe I'd better save your time, Dr. Wayland. All my charitable contributions are handled by my business manager.
We're not looking for charity, Mr. Marlowe.
Jimmy?
Why is it every time you guys see somebody without an arm or a leg, you think of tin cups and begging?
Well, I'm sorry. I thought...
Sure, I know you thought we're looking for a handout. Charity, huh? Did you ever take any, Mr. Marlowe? It sticks in your craw.
Jimmy, you better wait outside.
I'm sorry, Doctor. Believe me, Mr. Dover, I didn't mean...
My fault, Mr. Marlowe. I'd fly off the handle too easy.
Wait outside, Jimmy. I'll finish our business with Mr. Marlowe.
All right, Doctor. I'm sorry again. I'm always being sorry.
Doctor, I didn't mean to hurt him.
No one does. You see, Mr. Marlowe, that's what my institute is for. To educate the public to the abilities of disabled people. To accept a man, minus an arm and a leg like Jimmy, for instance, as a man, not a cripple.
Dr. Whalen, any way I can help you, I will.
Well, thank you, Mr. Marlowe. You can by contribution. Not of your money, but of your time.
Yes?
A month from now, we're holding a benefit in New York City. It's to raise money to set up a chain of industrial and liberal arts schools for the disabled, so they can become self-employed.
A month from now, you said?
Yes. And I'd like you, the famous Western film star, to be our master of ceremonies. We'll have a full program of stars and celebrities.
Well, I think I can do it, Dr. Whalen. I'll have to clear it with my agent in my studio, but that should be simple.
Splendid, Mr. Marlowe. Thanks for your cooperation. I'll have my secretary, Miss Vicky Brent, call you for a final confirmation. Good day, sir.
David Harding, United States Counterspies, Washington, from United Stage and Screen Actors Union, pursuant to Tax Bureau memorandum. This is to notify you that members of our union are being solicited to appear at a benefit performance for the Institute for the Disabled. Dr. Hobart Whalen, Director. We are notifying our members they may appear unless you notify us to the contrary.
Mr. Harding, the telegram just came in for you.
Let's see, Peter. Oh, yes.
What's it all about?
Oh, that's right. You were out of town on the Horn case when this memorandum was issued.
It must have been. I don't know what it refers to.
Charity benefit performances. The Tax Bureau has been having trouble with them.
Oh? How?
Well, in some instances, the tax regulations allow entertainers to deduct contributions of their services to charity just as if they had donated cash. But there were a number of benefits last year that were nothing but highly organized rackets.
Oh, I get it. The tax people wouldn't allow the deductions for playing those benefits.
That's right. So we've worked out an arrangement with them and the various entertainers' unions. They notify us of scheduled benefits. We make a routine investigation.
Do the sponsors of the benefits know about it?
Not if we give them a clean bill of health.
And if we don't?
No benefit. Unless they want to promote one for themselves in the penitentiary.
Fine. For once we get a chance to stop a crime before it's committed.
That's about it. So put this institute and this Dr. Hobart Whalen through a routine investigation, and then we can forget it. Unless, of course, it turns out to be not routine.
Yes, Mr. Marlowe? Well, this is Dr. Whalen's secretary. I'll give him your message just as soon as he gets back here to the office. And we'll see you in New York in a month. Goodbye.
The great Gary Marlowe, wasn't he?
Yes, Jimmy. He says he'll MC the benefit performance.
Wonderful.
You're not very enthusiastic about it, are you, Jimmy?
Sorry that you've got the blues.
Vicky, Jimmy, I have splendid news.
What is it, Dr. Whalen?
Well, I've just talked to the management of Coliseum Hall in New York by transcontinental phone. They're going to let us have the hall for our benefit for just expenses. They're giving up their usual profit.
That's wonderful, Doctor. Isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, great.
Well, what's the matter?
Jimmy's a little down in the dumps today.
Oh?
Doctor, it's just that I haven't been doing anything. Just hanging around, acting like a pitch to soften people up. I walk in, they took a look at me, and they go woozy. And, well, I can't stand the pity in their eyes when they see what the war did to me.
I know how you feel, boy. That's why your job is the toughest of all.
Yeah?
Because you've got to stand that pity. The misplaced pity of a lot of well-meaning people. You've got to do that so we can break the ground and educate them to know that you don't need pity. We've got to show people that a boy like you is well able to take care of himself. Show them in a dramatic manner that they'll never forget.
Maybe you're right, Doctor.
Of course I am. Now, I just made train reservations to New York. You go down the station, get those tickets. On the double. And don't tell me that you can't do that with one leg. I know you better.
Okay, Dr. Whalen. Sorry. On a double.
Now, Vicky, think I set the boy straight?
No question about it.
Funny thing is, every word I said was true.
And you didn't mean a single one.
The important thing is, he thinks I did.
Yeah, he does.
Now, what's the matter with you, Vicky?
Him.
Him? You falling for that half man?
Shut up.
No, Winter.
I'm working this con game with you. That doesn't mean I have to like it.
But on this sudden distaste?
I just got a mental picture of Jimmy when he finds out that you and I are phony.
Really? Was he heartbroken?
Why don't
the
you...
tears were streaming down his face. Touching sight.
Doc, what do you use for a heart?
A pump composed of animal tissue like every other human being.
Don't flatter yourself.
All right, I'll change that. Like every other animal in the jungle you call civilization.
Doc.
The survival of the fittest. The strong eat the weak. I'm strong, Vicky. The kid's a sucker. In fact, he's a cripple. Doesn't change that. Simply makes him better bait to lure on the healthy suckers.
Okay, Doc. No lectures.
Whatever you say, Vicky. Just don't turn into a sucker yourself.
It's a little late for me to change sides, I guess.
That's right. So snap out of it, Vicky. 2 more days, we head for New York.
Who is it?
Hey, Jimmy. Got me?
Sure, Jimmy, sure. The door's not locked.
I thought you'd be in the club car.
Got my own club car. Right here in my own compartment.
Oh. Well, I see. Do you get train sick? Is that why?
No, I just like a drink now and then. Nothing wrong with that, is there?
Oh, of course not, Vicky. If you want me to go...
Why should I want you to go? Sit down. Look at the scenery that goes by.
I've just been talking to Dr. Whalen.
Dr. Whalen? That calls for another drink. You want one?
Vicky, don't you think you've had enough?
I've had enough of something, but it's not this.
Okay.
What you looking at?
The countryside.
Oh.
Makes me kind of ashamed of myself.
You ashamed?
Look at it, Vicky. Wide and rolling. Those wheat fields. Pretty in the sun, aren't they?
So pretty.
The doctor's right.
The doctor? Oh, yes, Dr. Wade.
Vicky, I've decided something. This country's big enough for everything, everybody. The mountains we went through. The plains we'll be rolling over soon. There's room in it for every man, even a guy like me, a half... Sorry, Vicky.
The doc told you that, huh?
Yeah, but I added something of my own. Vicky, this country's big, but it needs me. I'm alive. I've got something to give it. Me and a million other men and women like me. Trouble is, it's kind of slow to wake up to the fact. Sort of stupid. But I'm going to help smarten it up.
You are?
Sure, Vicky, and you, too.
You know something, Jimmy? You know who's stupid?
No, Vicky, who?
You're stupid.
Oh,
and a sucker. Oh, what a sucker. You're not a strong one. You're not like the doc. You're not like me. Strong ones. That's me.
Vicky, what are you
And
talking
the
about?
doc. The doc. He couldn't even give you a prescription to buy a bandage in a drugstore.
Oh, Vicky, snap
No,
out.
you listen to me. Tell you a beautiful story about a rat. A pretty rat. You think I'm pretty, don't you, Jim?
Now, Vicky, makes sense.
I wish I didn't, but I do. Jimmy, our organization is a phony, and the doc is a phony, and I'm a phony.
What are you saying?
What am I saying? I'm down off that crutch of yours. And I'll tell you.
Operator, I'm in a railroad station. I only have 8 minutes. I don't know the number, but I've got to talk to Counterspy headquarters in Washington, D.C. Mr. David Harding.
Mr. Peters, call Mr. Harding right away. Mr. Peters, call Mr. Harding right away.
This is Peters, Dave.
Yes, Peters. Has anything come in on the investigation of that benefit for the disabled?
No, Chief, you said it was just routine.
Well, it's not routine anymore. Bring whatever you've got to my office. We've got to go to work. Fast.
Back to Counterspy in just a moment. But first...
Pepsi-Cola hits the spot. Truthful glasses, that's a lot. Lot more value, lot more zest. Why take less when Pepsi's best?
More and more, among fellows and girls, among mothers and dads, you hear that sane and sensible question, why take less when Pepsi's best? No budget, no allowance ever had a better friend than tangy, sparkling Pepsi-Cola. Because one big 12-ounce Pepsi bottle gives you 2 delicious drinks. That's twice as much tangy taste, twice as much delicious Pepsi to go just twice as far. That's why more and more families say, why take less when Pepsi's best? Yes, families like yours and mine, families all over America, they're all saying, why take less when Pepsi's best?
Pepsi-Cola hits the spot, tastes terrific when you're hot, more and better than the rest. Why take less when Pepsi's best?
Today, tomorrow, always, get America's biggest cola value. Take home a carton of 6 big Pepsi bottles. Insist on Pepsi at the store, and say Pepsi at the fountain. Say Pepsi at the stand. Say Pepsi whenever you reach for refreshment. Remember,
I take less when Pepsi's best.
And now, back to Counterspy. He, Brent, are in a corridor of a large New York hotel. Jimmy raises his good arm to knock on the door of room 302, then pauses.
Sure you want to go through with this, Vicky?
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Come in.
Come on. Mr. Hardy?
That's right, Mr. Dover. Come in. Sit down.
This is Miss Vicky Brent I told you about.
Yes. Won't you sit down, Miss Brand?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Why not sit back, Miss Brand? You don't look very comfortable perched on the edge of that chair.
I'm a little nervous.
No, it's all right, Vicky.
This is my assistant, Mr. Peters. Miss Brent, Mr. Dover.
How do you do,
Hello.
Mr. Peters? Dover?
Now, Mr. Dover, let's listen to you. What about this phony benefit you called me about?
Well, I told you about Dr. Wayland and my part in it.
Sketchily, yes. Well, we've already investigated Wayland. He has a long record as a confidence man and a chiseling promoter.
Well, I think Vicky, Miss Brent can give you a better picture of the setup than I can.
Oh, Miss Brent?
First, Mr. Harding, I want to get one thing straight.
Yes.
Jimmy's got a little blind spot about me. This isn't the first fake deal I've been in. The doc didn't con me into it. I knew what it was all about from the start.
I'm glad you said that, Miss Brent. It's a good beginning.
What?
We've been looking you up, too.
Peters, Victoria Brent, alias Barry, alias Brandon. Indicted for racetrack swindle, suspended sentence. Indicted as suspect in fur theft, probation, and some more.
I couldn't have hidden it if I wanted to.
Well, the important thing is you didn't want to. Now, will you tell your story?
Well, Doc Wayland got the idea to promote this benefit for disabled people. He called me in on the deal, and I went for it.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy was hired by the doc, and the doc gave him a song and dance about useful work and what a great project it was. Make the people aware of the ableness of the disabled.
And I went for it, hook, line, and sinker.
No reason you shouldn't, Mr. Dover. It's a great idea.
I'm keeping that in mind. Go ahead, Miss Brent.
Well, with Jimmy to go around with them and soften them up, the doc promoted half the big names in Hollywood. They'd... Well...
Say it, Vicky. They'd take one look at me and drown in their own pity.
I'm sorry, Jimmy.
And I was supposed to pull the same stunt with the Broadway and radio stars, only I'm not supposed to know that's what it is.
We'll come back to that, Jimmy. Go on, Miss Brent.
The doc set up a phony outfit, the Institute for the Disabled, chartered in some state out west.
Yes, with himself as the sole trustee for the Institute. Yes, we've checked that.
That's right. He was going to send a check for the proceeds of the benefit to the Institute, all right, and be there himself to receive it.
He expected to get away with something that wrong?
No, Mr. Peters, but he expected to be out of the country by the time it was found out.
Well, how far has the organization gone?
All the way. Tickets, advertising. He's even got a Coliseum Hall lined up. Now he just wants to line up some more names.
I notice he's scaled the prices on the tickets from $10 up to $1,000. There's no placard.
Well, anything else, Miss Brent?
No, that's it. I'm glad it's finished.
Yeah, and I guess I'm kind of sorry.
What?
Well, at least somebody was interested in guys like me. Finding out that disabled guys can do lots of jobs as well as they did before they were cracked up.
Jimmy, don't say that.
You know, it's funny. The only guy interested was a crook. And now he won't be around.
Jimmy, I think he may be. For a little while.
What?
I don't get it, Mr. Hardy.
When we make an arrest, it's for the good of society. But I'm not sure this case is as simple as that.
Well, I don't understand, Mr. Hardy.
Well, I may be sticking my neck out. But if we plan the how and when of Dr. Whalen's arrest, we'd be doing a lot more for society than we would by picking him up right now.
How's that, Mr. Harding?
I've got an idea that might work if Jimmy and Vicky will cooperate.
Oh, anything you say, Mr. Harding.
There'll be some risk.
Vicky?
I've gone along with you this far, Jimmy. I'll go all the way.
Good. Now make yourselves comfortable. I'll tell you my plan.
Gee, what a crowd, Jimmy. I never figured they'd turn out like this. The Coliseum's jammed.
Yeah, but I'm wondering where's Dr. Whalen?
He'll be here. You stop worrying.
Well, Mr. Harding's been swell about this. I'd hate for him to get in a jam. So you don't think Doc Whalen's wise, do you?
Jimmy, you don't think I took you.
Oh, no. No, Vicky. I know you couldn't. What I think about you, well, a guy like me shouldn't.
Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know I couldn't cross you out? Tell me.
Oh, Vicky. Oh, there's Doc Whalen. I guess he just came in.
I'm looking so happy.
Hello, Jimmy and Vicky. Splendid crowd. Splendid.
Where were you, Doctor? We were getting worried.
Just checking up at the box office, Jimmy. Don't you think it's time Gary Marlowe started the program?
Yeah, sure, Doc. I'll tell.
He's right over there.
Say, Mr. Marlowe.
Oh, yes, Jimmy?
You want me to begin?
Yeah, right away.
Oh, and, Mr. Marlowe, don't forget that first guest. He'll be kind of a surprise for everybody.
How could I forget him? Well, here we go.
Good luck, Mr. Marlowe.
Going to start, Jimmy?
Yeah, right away, Dr. Whalen. Let's sit here close and enjoy the show. Huh?
I intend to. We put a lot of work in it.
We've all put a lot of work in it, Doc.
Before we begin the show, there's a special guest I'd like to introduce right now, as he has to leave shortly on urgent business. In fact, this gentleman is always on urgent business. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present the Chief of the United States Counterspy, Mr. David Harding.
Harding. Jimmy, how did this happen?
Special guest, Dr. Whalen. I thought it was great we could get him. He doesn't make many public appearances.
Oh, yes. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Marlowe. Later on, I want to ask you about a trade secret. In those Western films of yours, how do you get 50 to 100 shots out of one 6-shooter revolver? The counterspies could use a trick like that. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be here. For the purpose of this benefit is of major importance to America. It's wonderful as more and more of us realize that the disabled can take their places as useful citizens. This occasion is to see that they get their chance, not as a charity, but as a right. And now, will the organizers of this great event come over here? Both of you. Dr. Hobart Whalen. Thank you, Mr. Harding. And Jimmy Dover. Now, I have a surprise for the audience. An actual arrest here on the platform. Ladies and gentlemen, splendid as this affair is, it has one black mark. It was organized by a confidence man, a swindler, a crook. This man here, Dr. Hobart Whalen. Jimmy, I want you to arrest him. I'm getting up. On with him, Doc. This rush is good for nothing besides beating us. Pretty good for a supposedly disabled man, wasn't it? Now, while my assistant Harry Peters helps Mr. Dover remove the prisoner, audience why we did not cancel this benefit weeks ago, even though we knew the promoter was a crook. We didn't stop it because the cause is close to our hearts. The Counterspies employ many so-called disabled men and women. They hold key positions in our code division, communications, and others. So we allowed this benefit to go on. And you may rest assured that at the suggestion of the President's Committee on National Employee Physically Handicapped Week, your money will go to a legitimate organization interested in this problem. And now, here is Gary Marlowe with the rest of the show.
Golly, Mr. Harding, that was wonderful, wasn't it?
It certainly was.
How's Whalen? He's unhappy, Dave. 2 of our agents are taking him down to our field office to be booked.
Well, then that winds up things there, Jimmy.
Except for me, Mr. Harding.
Yeah. What about Vicky, Mr. Harding?
Well, she'll have to testify against the doctor, of course.
What will that mean?
Means jail as a material witness.
Jail?
Of course, if someone would accept responsibility, Vicky could be paroled in his custody.
Oh, I'll do that, Mr. Harding.
But, Jimmy, you don't...
Oh, Vicky, we've stuck together this long. I can stand it a little longer if you can. Okay, Mr. Harding?
Okay, Jimmy. In fact, from the sound of things, I'd say very okay. And by the way, when you find time, get in touch with me about becoming a regular counterspy. Will you, Jimmy? Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to present the following message, especially prepared for this Counterspy broadcast, by the Honorable Alban W. Barkley, Vice President of the United States.
Today's disabled veterans and handicapped workers have the full support of the United States government in their quest for suitable employment opportunities. The President of the United States has established a special civilian committee to lend assistance in discharging this national responsibility of providing work for qualified handicapped men and women. The response by businessmen, industrialists, and labor officials has been highly gratifying, but we must intensify our efforts so that a war wound or an industrial accident is not a one-way ticket to the sidelines. I ask your continued interest in those handicapped workers presently employed and added opportunities for those seeking work. I urge all Americans to remember that ability is much more important than disability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Next week's Counterspy case deals with the teenage terrors who worshipped a heel. The stolen loot that was paid for with a wet handkerchief and hard cash. And the underworld mobster who pulled a switch and continued to be a right guy. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday
To the case of the Flatbush Fagin on Counterspy. And remember, when your friends drop in, be generous, but be thrifty, too. Serve plenty of delicious Pepsi-Cola. Pepsi's big 12-ounce bottle gives you not just one sparkling glassful, but 2. Get a carton of 6 and serve 12 delicious drinks. Yes, Pepsi is America's biggest cola value. You get twice the tangy taste, twice the refreshment, twice the Pepsi. So why take less when Pepsi is best? Whenever you reach for refreshment, remember,
Pepsi-Cola, hits the spot, 2 full glasses, that's a lot. Lot more value, lot more zest. Why take less when Pepsi's best?
Tonight's Counterspy program originated in New York, was directed by William M. Sweets, dramatized by Palmer Thompson, and featured Don McLaughlin and Mandel Kramer, with music by Jesse Crawford. Counterspy is a Phillips H. Lord production for Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy some Pepsi ice cold tonight.
They all knew he was aboard the yacht when it exploded and sank, and everybody called his death an accident. That is, everybody except the corpse himself. He said it was murder.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character as CBS presents The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. And now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Restless Day.
It had been a long, hard Saturday night that topped off a long, rugged week. When I finally got to bed dog-tired at 5 a.m. Sunday morning, I was planning to stay there until I'd caught up on all the sleep I'd lost and gained a running head start on the coming week. And by 3 in the afternoon on the day of rest, I figured that job was only about half done. But whoever it was that started riding my doorbell had a different idea. I held out until the buzzer stopped, but it was only a change of tactics, so I gave up. All right, I know when I'm licked. Just a minute.
Thank heaven you're in, Mr. Marlowe. I don't know what I'd have done otherwise. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Here, read this. This story on the front page.
What?
No, down here.
Oh, yacht explosion, death label accident, huh?
Yes.
Mystery blast which destroyed the Rollins yacht at Santa Monica Friday night, and in which Benjamin Rollins, noted cosmetics manufacturer, was killed, was established today by police investigators as accidental.
Sorry, I spoke too much.
That's all right. The explosion which shattered and sank the 50-foot pleasure boat was caused by a leaking fuel line. Rollins, known to be a chain smoker, is believed by witnesses to have continued on page 7.
Never mind, Marlowe. I'll tell the rest.
Right. Think you'll make it?
There are 2 frightening things wrong with that story.
Well, go ahead. Frighten me.
First, the explosion was no accident. That fuel line was repaired a week ago. Second, Ben Rollins was not killed.
You're shaking my faith in the American press. How do you know all this?
Because I am Benjamin Rollins.
Yes. Well, look, fella, you better dial 116 on the phone and tell the police all about it, huh?
No, that's exactly what I can't do. Someone's tried to murder me. If they find out I'm still alive, I'll be a target for a second attempt.
Wait a minute. I need 2 things right now. One, a cup of coffee. Would you like some?
No, milk, if you please. My doctor insists.
Okay, come on. The other's a good, solid explanation of why everybody thinks you were aboard that yacht.
Well, first, they believe my body was lost in the explosion. You see, I intended to spend the night there because Lucille, my wife, and I had quarreled.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a call, and I had to go out of town on business at the last minute. I went out to the boat, but only to pick up some papers. I was in a hurry. I must have left the lights on. I'd lost my hat in the wind on the way back. It was found in the water. Apparently, I didn't secure the dinghy because that was adrift offshore. Mind you, I read all this in the paper when I got back this morning.
Back from where?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Figures.
I came in on the California Limited. You can check on that. Marlowe, I must know who tried to kill me before they know they've failed.
That could be tough. Have you got any ideas?
Yes, I have. It might be any one of 3 people.
3?
For instance, Walter Pittman, my ex-partner, threatened to kill me less than a month ago in New York when I won another court decision from him.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's my business manager, a fellow named Slater. I almost fired him last week, the arrogant fool. It's always when I get cross this comes.
I see.
And I'm sorry to say it, but Mrs. Rollins would no doubt rather have me dead than alive. That's quite a lineup for a mere cosmetics chemist, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Look, you haven't been running lipstick experiments with somebody else's live equipment, have you, Rollins?
Oh, certainly not. I've been working so hard I haven't time for my wife. Say nothing of another woman. Oh, Marlowe, I'm frightened. I must get to the bottom of this. I'll pay you double your usual fee. Will you help me?
Okay, Rollins, it's a deal. If I hurry, I might get in on your funeral. Under the circumstances, that should make somebody due for a very big surprise. A shave and a shower later, and I checked my wheezing client's credentials, settled him down in my apartment with orders to answer the phone, but not the door, and drove out to Santa Monica, where the not-very-late Ben Rollins had made his home. I had a list of names, addresses, and phone numbers of people close to Rollins. That is, close enough to kill. I decided that Arthur Slater, the business manager, was my best bet for an opener. He had been described as soft-spoken, efficient, and somewhat arrogant. And after I found his cottage on Seaview Drive and walked up to the door, I heard someone inside offering a similar description, but with more color.
Mighty routine, Arthur Slater. If you think for 2 minutes you can throw little Angie over any time you feel like it after all the promises you've made, you're wrong.
That's just about enough, Angie.
Not by half, brother. I know which way the wind is blowing, and it's a nice big wind. Nobody kicks me out, and I mean nobody. So think it over, Mr. Big. Oh, get out of my way.
Yes, ma'am. Cute kid. Friend of yours, Slater?
Who are you? Another insurance investigator?
That's right. My name's Marlowe. May I come in?
Yes, certainly. All the others did.
Thanks. Who knows? I may be the last. Slater, I've got 3 reasons for believing that yacht explosion was no accident.
Not an accident? What reasons are you talking about?
For one, Walter Pittman.
Pittman? You mean Rollins' ex-partner?
You know him, huh?
Well, only by name. I never met the man.
All right, then. Let's talk about reason number 2, Lucille Rollins. How do you feel about her, Slater?
Well, you must be out of your mind, Marlowe. She and Ben fought constantly, yeah.
Slater, I asked how you felt about Mrs. Rollins.
I don't like her. And now, what or who is reason number 3?
You are. You had an argument with Rollins last week. He practically fired you.
And you think I'd kill him over that?
Could be.
Look, Marlowe, Ben Rollins drove himself like an overloaded truck. He had a cigarette cough, nervous shakes, and bad dreams. To me, bureau drawer eyelashes and glue-on fingernails simply aren't that important. So we had frequent arguments. Now, do you have any more smart reasons you'd like to discuss, or would you care to leave?
Just one thing more. Why does your girlfriend think you're a little stuck up these days?
You're becoming a bit too personal, Marlowe. Get out. I'm not compelled to answer any of your questions. There's an established legal procedure.
Skip it, Slater. If I need to, I'll be back. And I'm fairly chummy with the boys in blue myself, so I'll get the answers if I want them. Good night, big shot. Arthur Slater was like a billiard ball, hard to rub the wrong way. And if he did have an angle, he was playing cagey. So as long as I was in the neighborhood and the trail was hot, I figured I'd have a talk with the Spitfire, Angie. It wasn't hard to trail her. A corner newsboy had heard her get into a cab. The cabbie swore he'd never forget her. Swore again. So finding her apartment was less trouble than unfolding a $5 bill. When I pulled up across the street from her place, I noticed a big car as big as the average garage and older than last year's college graduate parked in front. It was a black Pierce Arrow, and someone with a mouthful of cigar hulked behind the wheel. The cigar was pointed at me as I crossed the street. When I went up the stairs to Angie's door, it was still pointed at me. But I forgot about that when the apartment door opened. Angie was relaxed. There were little glints of gold in her green eyes, and the warm lights behind her shimmered on soft waves of hair, a shade of burnished copper. Maybe she was a Spitfire, but at the moment, her damper was down.
Yeah? Well, Buster, you got your mouth open. You might as well say something.
Angie, who do you think murdered Ben Rollins?
Murdered? My mistake, chum. Good night.
Just a minute. This is business, honey.
Who are you, anyhow?
Philip Marlowe. You ran over me on your way out of Slater's place a few minutes ago and dented my ego.
Well, sue me. Who are you working for, Shamus?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. But I will tell you this, sweetheart. The explosion on that yacht was no accident. So I'm checking up on wives who'd rather be widows.
Lucille Rollins? Nuts. She was rolling in dough either way. She hated her job, but she sure didn't have to kill to quit. Get your compass fixed, Marlowe.
Wrong way, huh? Well, suppose Lucille were in love with Pittman, maybe.
Pittman? Who's he?
Shot in the dark. Tell me something, Angie. Your boyfriend Slater has picked up a lot of push lately. How come?
Some big deal they've been working on at the plant. And he makes me sick. Gets the first sniff of a success, and suddenly all his hats are too small.
Especially his old hats, honey. And you can't blame the guy if he's really on his way up now, can you?
Listen, Mac, I'll tell you, him, and the whole world something. Nobody is going to put little Angie on the skids. If there's a heave-ho pulled around here, Mr. Hotshot Slater himself will get it, and right in the neck. So if you happen to be snooping for him, Marlowe, you can putter right back and tell him so. Now beat it.
That's not a bad idea. Oh, by the way, what's Angie stand for?
Angelica? But don't count on it, brother. Don't count on it.
As I went down the front steps, the cigar and the black Pierce Arrow lined up on me again and followed me as I crossed the street and got into my car. It was still pointing at me as I drove away, but after all, the street was public property and the guy could smoke a cigar if he wanted to. Well, by the time I knocked on the front door of the Rollins home, I was braced for a deluge of tears and a session of red-eyed hysteria. So I was caught off balance by the handsome blonde woman of 35 with a wry, crisp waistline who was cool, calm, and well collected in green slacks. She introduced herself as Lucille Rollins.
Sit down, Mr. Marlowe. You said you're a friend of Ben's?
That's right, Mrs. Rollins. I stopped by to offer my condolences. But apparently condolences aren't much in order today. No tears, huh? Not even crocodile tears.
I'm not a hypocrite, Mr. Marlowe, that's why. I'm merely stunned and confused over this terrible accident, and I'm not sure yet how I feel.
Yeah, it was an accident, all right. Especially since that leaky fuel line that caused it was repaired a week ago.
It had been repaired?
Oh, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Who are you, Marlowe?
I'm a private detective, and I know a lot more than that. I know, for instance, that the insurance on the boat alone will keep you in pretty doodads for several years. And that's only a drop in a bucket.
Mr. Marlowe, I think you'd better leave.
And I think you better climb down off that high horse and listen. Because I haven't even started yet. Ben was a hated man by Pittman, by Slater, and maybe by you. And I can prove he didn't die accidentally, baby, so I'd like some nice straight answers, huh? When did you see Pittman last?
I've never seen Walter Pittman. I don't even know what he looks like. Ben and I were married 2 years ago. He broke with Pittman long before that.
But you're pretty chummy with Arthur Slater.
That's a lie. Why, we hardly spoke until a week ago.
You picked a poor time to get friendly, baby.
Listen here, Marlowe. Mr. Slater, I ran into each other purely by accident one afternoon last week. I happened to stop in at a small bar in downtown Los Angeles. Mr. Slater was there at a table talking with some man, a stranger to me. When he saw me, he came over. He seemed upset. So upset.
Wait a minute. Is there anyone else here now?
Well, no. My maid went out to the movies.
I heard something, a noise. Sounded like it came from the service boys. Come on, let's have a look.
Well, I don't know what any...
Hey!
The lights went off.
Somebody turned them off. You better... Lucille, look out! The bullets which had been intended for Lucille had only traveled the width of the kitchen, but miraculously both had missed. Whoever had thrown them moved out fast, because when I got through the service porch and into the backyard, nothing stirred, except the restless ends of a pepper tree. But a second later, a heavy, clanking motor roared on the side street. And I got to the fence just in time to see a boxcar on rubber tires skid around the corner. It was a black Pierce Arrow. I went back to the house, found the master switch, and turned on the lights. Lucille, her face strained and bloodless, stood in the kitchen door and watched me. A hole had been punched in the back screen door, and on the floor was a strange object which had been used to unhook the lock. It looked like an oversized bobby pin wearing rubber pants, which didn't mean a thing to me. But to Lucille, who stared at it like it was a centipede she just found in a cream puff, it meant plenty.
Ben.
What?
It's like Ben himself was here. Like he wasn't killed at all.
What are you talking about? What is this thing, anyway?
I don't know. Part of some new invention he was working on. For the last month, Ben carried 2 or 3 of these things with him everywhere.
Look, Lucille, where's your phone?
Right there.
Oh.
But Marlowe, you don't suppose... Who are you going to call?
Friend of mine. He'd better be in, too. Go.
Marlowe. What's the matter, Marlowe? Busy?
Yeah, busy. He's either talking to someone or he's gone out after leaving the phone off the hook. And either way, Lucy, that makes my friend very busy.
In just a moment, we will return to the second act of the adventures of Philip Marlowe. But first, it may have taken a little detective work finding a much-wanted man last week, but an unprecedented number of listeners seem to have turned Philip Marlowe. For Jack Benny's largest audience this season found him here on his opening show on CBS. Tomorrow night, Jack will be back with Mary, Dennis, Phil, Rochester, and Don for more of the fun that's made the Jack Benny Show the #1 comedy in radio. You'll find him right here on CBS every Sunday at 7 Eastern Standard Time. And now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Restless Day.
When I left Lucille Rawlins, the feminine target for tonight, I headed for Angie Gordon's, where I'd first seen the man with a cigar in his face, who I suddenly figured might be Walter Pittman. And as I drove, I felt like my brains had spent the night playing leapfrog in a squirrel cage. Because any way I call the dice, every one of my clients suspected of murdering him to somebody else. And just to keep things from making any sense at all, I suspected my client. I pulled up near Angie's and saw the Pierce Arrow parked, lights and a man with cigar out. When I got close to the bungalow door, I knew that the lady was at home.
Now, look here,
and that she was receiving a gentleman caller, more or less.
Tell me your name. yes, which incidentally I don't believe. And then you start asking a lot of very personal questions. How cozy.
Now, please, you do not understand. There are certain things about the death of Ben Rollins that I must know. Things that mean a lot to me.
How much a lot?
Well, $100 maybe.
What? Now, don't tell me that's all you could stuff into that briefcase there in your hand.
Listen, girl, I must know whether that explosion on the boat was an accident or not.
The police let it go as an accident?
Never mind that. You are Slater's girl. You must know something about him as well as the other one who was here. Now, you tell me. Quick.
Stay away from me, you big lug. I don't know anything. Let go of me, Let go.
You heard the lady, Pittman. Let go.
Now, how do you know my name?
I read tea leaves. And while we're all asking questions, do you mind telling me why you were throwing bullets at the Chinaware on Mrs. Rollins?
I did no such thing. I don't even know Mrs. Rollins.
You're a liar, and it's dull as the sauerkraut. The gun in your pocket will prove it.
I have no gun in my pocket. Here, look for yourself.
All right, I will. But if it's all the same to you, I'll start with your briefcase.
Well, give me that.
Why, so you can get to the gun first?
No, because all right, Mr. Smart Man. Go ahead and look. See for yourself that there's absolutely nothing there that concerns you.
When I get my hands on you, I'll break your throat.
Marlowe. And don't look so astonished, friend. It's called a gun.
Why, you little...
Skip it, Marlowe. It isn't my idea of returning a favor, but it is good business. You see, baby, little Angie sells out to the highest bidder. And no matter how I add things up, that isn't you.
So exit Pittman, huh? Briefcase and...
What are you staring at?
That little gadget there. Must have fallen out of Pittman's briefcase.
What is it?
Twin brother of an item I found a little while ago, rubber pants included.
What are you talking about, Marlowe?
Nothing, baby. Just tell me how long I sit here.
As long as you like. Now, you see, Marlowe, I just can't afford to let you get to Pittman ahead of me.
Yeah. That good business you were talking about.
Uh-huh. After all, a gal's got to make a living. One way or another, Marlowe. Doesn't she?
There was room to debate Angie's point, but no time. So I skipped her invitation for a drink. Both promised and threatened to see her again and headed for my car in the only direction left, the residence of the local pivot man, Mr. Arthur Slater. When I got to within a block of the place, I parked and then approached slowly, keeping to the shadows all the way. But the house turned out to be as dark and quiet as the inside of a coffin. I was about to leave when some noise a dozen yards behind me said that I was no longer alone. I turned quietly and got ready for what I figured would be a reunion with my old buddy, Walter Pittman. But I was wrong. Sneaking through a nearby clump of orange trees with all the deftness of an ox with bunion trouble was no one else but my client, Ben Rollins. When I called his name out loud, he ran toward me, arms and legs flailing the wind like a Kansas scarecrow caught in a tornado.
Marlowe, I've been looking all over for you.
Rollins, why aren't you back in my apartment where you're supposed to be?
I couldn't wait any longer. I was afraid something had happened to you. When you didn't call, I was sure of it. I thought you might be here at Slater's.
But I did call, and all I got was a busy signal.
Oh, about an hour ago. Why, that was a friend of yours. He wanted to know if you'd play cards with him tonight. Now, do you believe me?
No, for the time being, yes. Incidentally, Rollins, do these mean anything to you, these oversized bobby pins?
Good Lord, the curlers. Where did you get those curlers, Marlowe? They should be in my safe.
Well, I found one at your house and the other in a briefcase that belonged to Walter Pittman.
But, Marlowe, these are samples of my newest invention, these hair curlers. They can produce a home permanent wave overnight that will last for 6 months. It's worth millions to me.
If you live.
Yes. Now, it should be easy to figure out who wanted to kill me.
I'm not so sure. If you didn't even know these were missing, why should someone have to kill you to get hold of them? And second of all, how come the shooting's still going on?
What shooting are you talking about?
Over at your place. Somebody tried to kill your wife there just before I called you. And that brings us right back to your alibi about talking to Ibarra at the time. It's a little too pat, Rollins. Besides, that curler could very easily have dropped out of your pocket.
But why should I shoot at Lucille?
For the best reason in the book, she wanted to kill her. And when that yacht business almost boomeranged on you, you still hadn't changed your mind. And that led to this whole routine with me double-billed as Patsy and star witness both.
You're out of your mind, Marlowe. I couldn't have set that explosion on the yacht as a trap for Lucille.
Why not?
Because it was on account of me that Lucille wasn't on the yacht herself that night.
What?
After we argued, we decided not to spend any more time under the same roof. Lucille said that suited her fine and she'd sleep on the yacht. We let it go at that till about noon on Friday.
And you got small about things and said the yacht was yours, maybe? That you'd sleep on it?
Yes. I was just bickering.
Just a minute, Rollins. I've heard enough, and I think I finally understand this whole screwy deal. I'll know for sure just as soon as I can make one single phone call to your house. We'll get back to Slater. Come on. When I got to a telephone and through to the maid at the Rollins place, I was almost positive that in another minute I'd have both a solid answer for my client and a couple of clumsy customers for the law. But when the shaky voice at the other end of the tube told me that Lucille had just left the house in high gear, after mumbling something about a place called Inspiration Point, I stopped being confident and started to worry. And when I tossed the jackpot question at the maid and got the winning answer, that worry became something worse, and it must have showed.
What is it, Marlowe? What did you find out?
Too much to explain now. Where's Inspiration Point, Rollins?
About a mile south of here, straight along the shore.
Good. What kind of a car does your wife drive?
A blue Nash. What's Inspiration Point got to do with Lucille, Marlowe?
Everything. Now, look. You call the cops and tell them to get out there as fast as they can. Do you get me? As fast as they can. Inspiration Point turned out to be an acre of wind-swept rock that overlooked the cold January sea. After I saw Lucille's empty car, I crept, staggered, and fell down the narrow, winding trail that led from the road to the promontory itself. I was afraid that I was going to be too late to stop what I was sure was a hastily scheduled murder. But a minute later, when I rounded the last crazy turn in the trail, I felt better. Because standing only a couple of yards away from me, her hair slapping wildly against the upturned collar of her coat, and very much alive, was Lucille Rollins. I was about to breathe a sigh of relief when suddenly I caught the expression in her eyes. I turned to follow the line of her unblinking gaze, and I knew that I hadn't arrived any too soon. Because the lady was being held at the point of a gun held by Arthur Slater. I closed my hand tight around the cold .38 in my pocket and moved closer.
When you called me at the house, you said that my husband was alive and with you. Why did you lie to me?
Because I knew that would bring you running. I had to be alone with you, Lucille, so I could do what I missed doing last time.
Last time? You mean the yacht? You did that?
Yes. But somehow or other, Ben was out there instead of you. So that accident was a waste of time. But this one, the bereaved wife who jumped or fell to her death from the edge of Inspiration Point, won't be.
But why, Slater? Why do you want to kill me?
There's no time to explain, Lucille.
And we'll take time, Slater.
Marlowe, you.
Yeah, me.
Marlowe! Marlowe, he's going to kill me.
Yes, honey, I know. He had to.
But why, Marlowe? Why?
Because he stole your husband's invention to sell to Walter Pittman. He was going to go into business with him. And now when the cops get here, he's going first to a hospital and then to jail. A grand larceny and attempted murder.
Attempted murder? What about Ben, Marlowe?
Ben was a near miss, honey, nothing more. You'll see what I mean in a minute. When Lucille found out that Ben was still alive, there were a lot of tears and promises to be good from both parties. And it wasn't until an hour had gone by and the police had already booked both Slater and Pittman, who was picked up heading back for L.A., that Mr. and Mrs. Rollins were in any condition to sit down and talk things over, even with the help of coffee and cigarettes in the Rollins home.
Then the whole scheme, Marlowe, was designed by Slater, who, as my business manager, had access to the new curvers.
That's right. Knowing how Walter Pittman felt about you, Slater secretly contacted him to handle the manufacturing end, you see?
Yes, I see.
Well, a few changes in the design, and the whole thing would have been patented and on the market while you and Slater...
pretended that Pittman was a stranger to him.
Were still laboring away at last-minute changes.
And when we learned about Pittman's product, Slater would act as surprised as Ben here.
You're so right, Lucille. That was the plan. Oh, but it fell apart. See, it fell apart when you accidentally ran into Slater in that small bar in downtown L.A., do you remember?
Yes.
When he was with Pittman, the man you described to me as the stranger?
Yes, of course.
All right. Well, he realized then that with Pittman's product a success, you would sooner or later see a picture of Pittman, the newly rich inventor, and recognize him as the man you saw with Slater before Pittman's product was on the market.
So that meant that Slater either had to get rid of Lucy Or give up his entire plan.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got a match, Mr. No. No, I'm going to give them up. But Marlowe, was Pittman involved in the murder attempt, too?
Oh, no. He drew the line at the theft. See, when he found out that you had died mysteriously, he turned up here to check on Slater because he couldn't afford to be mixed up in your murder.
I see. But how did you figure all this, Marlowe?
Well, after I had tangled with everybody, I was no place. Angie Gordon was looking for an angle. You, Lucille, were getting shot at.
Poor darling.
Yeah, and Pittman and Slater were not on the same team. At least as far as the business on the yacht was concerned. Nobody seemed to have a clear-cut motive.
But when I told you that Lucille herself was supposed to stay on the yacht that night, you had the answer.
That was the time. After I called your house and asked the maid the jackpot question, which was, who aside from you, Ben, knew that Lucille was going to sleep on the yacht Friday night?
And she said Slater, didn't she?
Yeah. Said something else, too. She also said that you had left for Inspiration Point in a big hurry.
Yes. Then Slater tried to kill me first on the yacht, second in the house here, and finally out on the point.
Mm-hmm. But in the end, it worked out fine, darling. Because the third time was the charm. For us. Well, by the time I was through tying in all the loose ends for my client and his wife, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was dog-tired all over again. When I got into my car and started away from the place, Ben and Lucille were standing in the doorway waving at me and smiling. So as I drove back toward L.A., I forgot about the sleep I was missing and thought about them. A couple who couldn't get along until one or the other of them had been robbed, dynamited, and shot at. I guess it's really so. As the old bromide has it, the path of true love never does run smoothly. It's smooth. Oh, well.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, stars Gerald Moore and is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Dinelli, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Lorette Philbrandt, Edgar Barrier, Virginia Gregg, John Daner, and Jack Moyles. The special music was by Richard Arant. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
Somewhere in the cold, persistent rain that made the city itself seem a thing of evil, a girl had disappeared, and it was my job to find her. But before I did, I found death and a devil.
The Jack Benny Show's on CBS Sundays at 7 Eastern Standard Time, and comes right in the middle of 90 minutes of wonderful comedy on CBS's new early Sunday evening lineup. Immediately preceding Jack's show, you'll find Spike Jones and his Spotlight Review at 6:30 Eastern Time. And following the Benny Show, Amos and Andy take over with their inspired humor. Listen to Spike Jones and Amos and Andy over most of these same CBS stations tomorrow, flanking Jack Benny. They add up to 90 solid minutes of merry Sunday listening on CBS. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Fine does not pay.
Look at him shine and glitter like. Look at him shine.
That's a $50,000 glitter, baby. Ice. $50,000 worth of ice.
Gee, how I'd love to wear 'em, Art.
Wouldn't they look gorgeous around my neck?
Like a rope, kid. You'd hang us both for sure if you ever wore those diamonds.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear What's in a Name, starring Helen Craig. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Helen Craig as Sophie Tarwell, alias Jane Costello, in What's in a Name. There is much truth in the old adage, no honor among thieves. There are only two successful methods of keeping thieves from falling out. One is a mutual interest in common gain. The other is force, the obey-or-die rule of organized crime. Sophie Tarwell and Art Sewell stayed together over the years because of common gain. These two had a method all their own. Sophie was the front with women, Art with the men. Their operation usually began as did the morning Sophie arrived at a very swank Florida hotel and said to the desk clerk,
May I register, please?
Oh, of course, miss, of course. Right here. And what kind of accommodations did you wish?
A small suite. Do you have one available?
We have a very nice parlor, bedroom, and bath on the east wing.
On the ocean?
Yes, ma'am.
Here's your registration card.
Thank you. Why, this is most extraordinary. We have a Jane Costello with us already. The famous stage star.
Well, that is interesting.
Yes.
I've heard of her, of course, but we've never met. Well, at last the paths of the namesakes cross.
It is strange, isn't it? And no relation?
No, none whatsoever.
Well, I hope you do meet one day. And here, front, please, front.
I want the manager. Is this the manager's office?
This is Martin Coswell speaking.
Mr. Coswell, something must be done about this at once. I'm not getting my mail, and that other Jane Costello is. Now, there must be some way of sorting the mail so that I won't read another woman's letters nor she mine.
Yes, we've noticed your previous complaints, Miss Costello, and mentioned the matter to the other Miss Costello. We're doing our best. Please be kind enough to give us a little more time.
I wish to see Mr. Coswell at once.
Yes, Miss Costello, of course, at once.
Miss Costello, at very long last.
Yes, I'm Jane Costello.
And so am I. Really, it's an honor to meet you, finally.
Thank you, Miss Costello.
Thank you, Miss Costello.
One has the oddest sensation of talking to oneself. Don't you feel that way?
No. I have only the name. You have the great talent, Miss Costello.
Thank you again, my dear. Really, you know, we'll have to do something about the mail.
Well, now that we've met, perhaps we ought to have breakfast together and open all the mail addressed to Jane Costello, side by side.
Except, of course, those letters with return addresses we recognize.
Exactly.
I see you ladies have met.
Yes, we have. And solved the whole muddle, Mr. Coswell.
Excellent, excellent. Leave it to the ladies, I always say.
Do you? Perhaps at the rate you're going, Mr. Coswell, you'd like us to run the hotel for you, too.
Jane, I think this has been one of the best months of my life.
The weather certainly has been pleasant.
The weather's always pleasant in Florida this time of the year. But it's finding a friend I'm talking about.
Thank you, Jane. You know, my dear, I've been on the stage a good many years. I've played in almost every city in the English-speaking world. But there are still very few people I can really call my friends.
Oh, I don't believe that. Well, I'm glad, Jane, that a coincidence of names helped us both find friends.
Am I wrong, darling, or do I detect a note of farewell in your voice.
There is a little.
You're not leaving already. Why, it's only a month.
I know, Jane. A wonderful month.
Is it cash, darling? Because if it is,
nothing like that. In fact, I'm not even giving up my suite. I'll be back. But I hate to leave here, even for only a week or two.
Where are you going?
Well, that's just it. I'm not sure.
You sound so strange, dear.
Well, Jane, it's difficult to explain. My first stop is home. But, well, my sister isn't well, and she needs a dry climate, it seems. So I think I'll probably have to find a place in Arizona for her, and then take her there.
Oh, you poor dear.
Oh, I don't really need sympathy, Jane. And anyway, I'll be back in 3 or 4 weeks. I'll miss you. And our breakfast. I really will.
And I you. You're certain there's nothing I can do?
Well, there is the question of mail.
Shall I forward it home?
No, I won't be there long enough. But if you just accept anything that comes from me and hold it until I get back.
What a question. I'll be glad to, darling. I'm sure the management will see to it that I get all your letters anyway.
Mr. Métier.
Georges Mertier, madame, à votre service.
Mr. Métier, I'm looking for something really nice in the way of a necklace. You'll understand, I'm sure, the new evening gowns. One feels so bare without a fine necklace.
Of course, madame. Now, madame has some limit, perhaps.
Limit? Oh, you mean the price? None whatsoever, Mr. Métier. When the day comes that Jane Costello sees a...
Madame Costello, I am desolate not to recognize the great star at once. 1,000 apologies. How can I serve you?
I'll trust you, Mr. Métier. Let me see what you think is right for me.
One moment, let me think. Yes, but of course. Jacques, tray 12 from the small safe at once. Vite.
Something really special, Mr. Métier?
You will see. A cascade of beauty that will take life from your beauty, madame. A piece made for a queen, made undoubtedly for you.
Mr. Métier, you outdo yourself.
Merci, Jacques, merci. Now, if madame will feast her eyes on this.
Oh, it's so beautiful, it takes my breath away.
Madame is most gracious. This I have designed myself.
And the price, Mr. Métier?
So that I may say my work is graced by madame's beauty, $50,000, madame.
That is a fortune.
Set in platinum, each stone emerald cut, the central pendant a flawless jewel, a perfect rose diamond of 20 carats.
You tempt me, Mr. Métier. You really do.
Madame will take it?
50,000. Yes, I'll take it.
And madame wishes it delivered?
To my hotel, the Esplanade. If you'll just send it over.
Well, madame will forgive me, but it is most necessary that I call the hotel on the telephone.
Well, you know me, Mr. Métier. Why?
The formality required by the insurance company, madame. In these distressing times, so many impostors.
Do you think that I'm an impostor, Mr. Métier?
But of course not, madame. Never. However, a record of such a telephone call there must be for the insurance. If madame will forgive, I will call right here. Madame will see it is but a formality.
Oh, very well. If you must, you must.
1,000 thanks, madame, for understanding.
Hotel Esplanade.
Office of the manager, if you please.
Thank you. I will ring the manager.
Arden Coswell speaking.
Monsieur Coswell, Georges Mertier here.
Oh, yes, Mertier the jeweler. Now, how are you?
In excellent health. And you?
Perfect. Now, what can I do for you, Mertier?
Well, here in my establishment is Madame Jane Costello. This, of course, is a formality, but Madame wishes a necklace delivered to her at your hotel. She is registered?
Of course.
But of course. And your safe is a satisfactory repository for gems such as this?
Safe as the Bank of England.
Thank you, Mr. Coswell. Thank you very much. Good day.
Glad to be of service. Goodbye.
All is well, of course, madame, as we knew it would be. Our messenger will deliver the necklace before the day is over.
Mr. Coswell, I demand to know the meaning of this immediately.
Of what, Miss Costello? Is something wrong?
Wrong. Is anything right?
Now, please sit down, Miss Costello.
Sit down. When Mertier is threatening to sue me for $50,000. Unless I produce a necklace they insist they sold me.
I don't quite follow.
50,000. Where would I get 50,000 for something to wear around my neck? It's preposterous.
If you would start at the beginning, Miss Costello, I'd be most happy to help if I can.
Oh, yes. Yes, well, perhaps you don't know. Now then, listen. 2 weeks ago, I signed for a package, addressed in my name. A package from Merchase. I ordered nothing, much less a $50,000 diamond necklace.
I remember now. George Mercier did call me something about your being registered here and was my safe a secure depository.
Apparently not me, Mr. Coswell. My so-called namesake.
She ordered
the necklace, exactly. I was taking her mail and packages while she went off to Arizona. Oh, something about a sister. 2 days after the package was delivered, she blew in. Told me she'd come for her mail. I gave her the mail and her package from Merchase. And I haven't seen or heard from her since. And Merchase has my signature on the receipt and they're demanding payment.
This is quite serious, Miss Costello. I wonder if you realize how serious.
Are you telling me this is not a mistake of some sort, Mr. Coswell?
It's no mistake, Miss Costello. It's one of the smoothest, slickest swindles ever perpetrated.
That woman? With my name, a thief?
Yes, Miss Costello. I'm sure she took your name only for the obvious purpose, and I'm equally sure this is a matter strictly for the police.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with What's in a Name? Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Helen Craig as Sophie Tarwell, alias Jane Costello, in What's in a Name. Just a few miles geographically, but 1,000 miles socially from the Hotel Esplanade was a rooming house like 100,000 others across the country. Shabby, shoddy, and anonymous. Second floor rear looked out on the usual littered yard with its crisscross of wash lines. But the occupants of that room were not interested in the view. At the moment, Sophie Tarwell, alias Jane Costello, was interested in the man with her and...
Money. A lot once. I want to bury my arms in the long green right up to the elbows.
Want to run through it in your bare feet, baby?
Yeah, that too. All my life it's been pennies and nickels, Art. When the rent was paid, it was worry over the groceries. When the grocer was paid, it was worry over the rent. Never enough money. I couldn't even finish commercial high school, Art. Did I ever tell you that? I couldn't learn shorthand and typing and get a decent job. I had to go into a mill because my father couldn't work, and my older brother wouldn't.
And then you met me, Sophie. We ain't done so bad, huh?
2 weeks now, Art. Haven't we waited long enough?
Could be. Matter of fact, I got a date with Fence Palmer today.
Can I go with you?
Not on your life, baby. You're hotter than a pistol this minute. They saw you. Nobody knows me.
Art, let me look at him once more.
Sure, baby, sure. Here. Yeah, I love the way they pack this stuff. On black velvet, huh?
Look at them shine and glitter, Art. Look at them shine.
That's a 50 grand glitter, baby. Ice. $50,000 worth of ice.
Gee, how I'd love to wear them, Art. Wouldn't they look gorgeous around my neck?
Like a robe, kid. You'd hang us both for sure if you ever wore them diamonds. There they are, Palmer. How do you like them?
Very pretty.
Pretty, is that all?
Yeah. I should get excited over diamonds.
Rose cut, the fella told Sophie himself.
Today the demand is square cut.
Well, so what? You can't sell it like that. You got to break it up anyhow.
Just what I was thinking of.
All right. How much?
Now or after I sell them?
Both.
5 G's down, 20 more after I sell them.
Oh, you're nuts. That piece of stuff is worth 50 G's at least. That's what the fella
told Sophie himself. Yeah, I know.
That's what it was insured for, too.
When the insurance company is in it, you can't never get more than half price. Maybe less.
Give me the stuff. I don't let you have it for no 25.
Put it down, Art. I got a phone. I could get a reward from the insurance company. About 10 G's, maybe, without doing nothing but making a call.
Try it and see how long you live.
You ain't no big shot yet, Art. Not until you get the 25 G's. So don't talk about putting anybody away. Any more talk like that, I cut the price. Understand?
Okay. I get it. 25 G's. Sophie will be sore as a boil. She thinks she's going to have all of that to spend herself. Half ain't going to set so well with her.
What's the matter? You scared of the dame?
Me scared? What for?
Dames is tricky sometimes, especially when they get only half of what they expect.
Well, not Sophie. But she'll sure raise the roof.
You want the 5 now?
Natch. She sure will raise the roof.
In what book it says you got to give her anything? Here's your 5 G's, count it. I don't want to gyp nobody.
What do you mean, gotta give her anything?
Get smart, boy. You have a show in this deal yourself?
Planned it, that's all.
Okay. Ever use a telephone, son? Ever use a telephone?
Art, how much? How much did you get?
$5,000 to start.
Let me see it. $5,000. In one place at one time.
Looks big, Sophie?
Awful big.
Wait till you see the other 20. Of course, we gotta wait for that until,
Only 20 more?
Yeah. Oh, we'll get it after Palmer breaks up the necklace and sells the stones.
You complete stupid idiot. 25,000.
Look, Sophie, that's all he'd give. He said he'd turn us in for the reward if I didn't leave it with him.
You and your honest sense. Me, I take the risk. I go and play high society and stick my neck out. And you sell me right down the river. $25,000.
Well, no fence ever gives more than half the value.
Not for jerks like you, they don't.
I don't have to take this, Sophie, so shut up.
I will not. I stuck with you through all the penny ante jobs. Finally, we pull up a big one. But good. What happens? You dump it down the sewer, straight into the ash can.
Shut up, I said. Keep your tongue in your face.
Don't you dare talk to me like that.
I'll talk to you any way I please.
Where are you going? Answer me.
I'm going out. And you'll be real lucky if I ever come back. Larceny, Lieutenant Turner speaking.
You want something on a Costello Mercier necklace?
Do we want... Hold the phone a minute.
Nah, you can't trace me. This is a pay telephone. You want the tip?
Who is this?
My name is Rockefeller. I buy diamonds all the time.
Yeah, all right, Mr. Rockefeller. Spill it.
The dame what did the job. She is second floor rear at 17-1/2 South Jackson Boulevard.
She got the rocks?
You nuts. I'm not that crazy.
Hello. Well, what do you know about that? A break for a change. A nice little break.
Art, you came back. Who are you?
Police, ma'am. What's your name?
I haven't done anything.
No, of course not. What's your name?
Sophie Tarwell. I haven't done anything.
Well, then, Miss Tarwell, I'm sure you won't mind taking a little ride with me and answering a few questions. Look, Sophie, I don't like this any more than you do.
Yeah, sure. That's what my father used to say before he whaled the tar out of me.
I mean it. I got a home to go to.
Lucky you.
Shut up. Don't interrupt me. Now, you're going to tell me, Sophie, all about the Mercier robbery. How you hijacked the necklace, where it went, who has it now.
I'd be very glad to assist the police if I could. They're always such gentlemen. Only it happens I don't have the least idea what you're talking about.
You've been identified, Sophie. While you've been sitting here in the squad room with me, you've been observed and positively identified as the woman who registered as the second Jane Costello.
I don't believe it. Anyhow, an identification like that would never stand up in court. I want a lawyer. I won't talk until I see a lawyer.
We can hold you 24 hours, Sophie, without a lawyer, and we will. You see that little window up there?
So what?
You've been viewed and identified through that little window.
Prove it.
I will. All right, send one of them in. Oh, Mr. Coswell, thank you for helping us.
Lieutenant, I made the identification. Is this absolutely necessary?
I'm afraid so. Miss Tarwell here's rather stubborn. It seems she needs convincing.
Who's this guy?
You know me, Miss Tarwell. I was present when you met the real Jane Costello. I saw you in our hotel daily in your masquerade. The circumstances were sufficiently extraordinary that I would remember you a long, long time.
How much is the insurance company paying you to say that?
Not one penny. Nothing will be paid anyone unless the necklace is recovered.
You're wasting your time. Go on back to your bellhop and your potted palms. I never saw you in my life.
Thank you, Mr. Caswell. Will you send in the next witness, please?
Yes, naturally.
It is a parade. Where's the brass band?
You're a fool, Sophie. Come clean and I'll give you a break.
No cop ever gave anybody a break.
Lieutenant, I simply do not wish to have to face this woman.
Here she is, Mr. Mercier. You know her, don't you?
It is impossible that ever I will forget. So charming, so handsome, and a common thief.
Sing it, Frenchie. Nobody's proved anything. Call me names and I'll sue you for slander.
Heaven forbid. I may go, please, Lieutenant.
All right, Mercier, and send in the next one, will you, please?
Merci, Lieutenant. I'm happy if I have been observed.
Who's next, Lieutenant? The King of England?
Oh, cut it out, Sophie. You'll never beat this rap, and you know it by now.
What seems to be the trouble, Lieutenant? This woman is bright enough to know she's caught.
It gets me, Miss Costello. Unless she thinks she's got a chance.
I've got every chance.
No, you haven't. It's in your eyes.
Never mind what's in my eyes.
May I, Lieutenant?
Help yourself, ma'am.
You're a fool, Sophie. No man is worth 10 to 20 years of a woman's life in prison.
This isn't a play. Stop dramatizing it, Miss Costello.
Afraid, my dear, if it were a play, the critics would pan it. It's no longer fashionable on Broadway for a woman to protect her man. Nor in real life when the man isn't worth it.
Think you're pretty bright, don't you?
No. Not very. But I'm sure you're not a fool, Sophie. No woman who was a fool could carry off the performance you gave in my suite every morning for a month. I don't make friends with fools, Sophie.
Leave me alone, will you? I made my bed, I'll lie in it. Alone.
But why, Sophie? For the man who turned you in?
Nobody turned me in. Nobody.
Why don't you tell her, Lieutenant?
We picked you up on a tip, Sophie. A telephone call from a pay station. From a man.
No. No. You're making it up. You're trying to get me to say things I won't say. I won't. I won't.
That's the truth. Who knew where you were? Who knew you were second floor rear 17 and a half South Jackson Boulevard?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
But he did. You know he did. Your heart says no, Sophie, but your brains say yes. Who is he, Sophie? Where's the necklace?
His name is Art Sewell. We've been together for years. I know every job he's ever pulled. I don't know where he is. But you'll find him now. I know that.
And the necklace, Sophie?
A fence. Palmer. The lieutenant will know where to find him. Art took it to him today. They couldn't have broken it up yet.
All right, Lieutenant.
A woman with a woman, Miss Costello.
It's so beautiful. Stones are like fire and ice. I should have worn it once anyway. Like fire and ice, made for a queen. They mustn't break it up. They mustn't. Stop them, Lieutenant. Don't let them spoil it. Please don't let them spoil it. It's too beautiful. Like fire and ice. Like fire and ice.
Time does not pay. Ellen Craig, who starred as Sophie Tarwell in What's in a Name, will be back with you in just a moment. Now, here in person is Helen Craig.
I think it's pretty clear that Sophie Tarwell was one of those unfortunate people who feel that they have the right to use their wits in any way they can. She wasn't born a criminal. She was made one by lack of training and opportunity to use her talents. When we, people like you and me, have seen to it that everyone receives training and opportunities within his or her ability, crimes like Sophie's will disappear. That will happen because, truthfully, The wrong way of life is always the hard way in the end. Inevitably, one way or another, the offender learns, as Sophie and Art did, that crime does not pay.
Thank you, Helen Craig. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Marks V. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turtis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.
Gangbusters presents as narrator by proxy of tonight's case, the Honorable U.E. Bauman, Chief of the United States Secret Service, Treasury Department.
Thank you. And good evening, Gangbusters listeners. Our case tonight begins last spring in the city of Chicago. It was early in the evening in an apartment house near Douglas Park when a slightly built man, carrying what was obviously a box of flowers, bounded up 2 steps at a time toward the door of the second-floor apartment.
Pearl? Hello, Andy.
Gus. Hiya.
Oh, where you been, Andy? 2 hours I've been sitting there cooling my heels waiting for you.
Ain't Pearl here?
Well, who do you think let me in? She's fine company. Where you taking her tonight? Her hair, her nails, her works. What are you celebrating? Pearl! What, you got there, flowers? I thought only college boys brought flowers.
Hey, Andy, relax. I'm here. I'm just getting ready for the big night out.
Yeah, okay, Pearl. I got some flowers for you.
That's nice.
You see, you got all the trouble to bring violets.
They're orchids.
Okay, orchids. What does it get you? That's nice. Bang.
Well, she's getting dressed.
Now, listen, Andy. We've been associating business a long time. That Pearl don't care no more for you than that. She's out after what she can get.
Gus, I don't want no discussion of this again.
As soon as something better comes along with more dough, she'll drop you head first. She's a social client.
I don't want to hear nothing else about it.
Okay, you bought your shoes, walk in them. Anyway, I came here for a conference.
About what?
Here. Get rid of these.
Oh, listen, Gus, I still ain't unloaded half of the lads.
That's the trouble. The boss says you ain't producing.
Who ain't producing? I'm out breaking my back every day.
Listen, you got the best go of all the guys. There ain't one of the boys wouldn't grab your territory in a minute, Andy. You got the best counterfeit since Lust.
The counterfeit may be okay, Gus, but you know how far I got to ride between farmhouses? How many turkeys can I buy, and how many farmers got change in the house for a 20 or a 10?
Listen, Andy, them's your problems. The boss says produce or you lose your franchise.
I want to talk to the boss.
Now, don't you know better than that, Andy?
I want to get this thing straightened out.
Look. You got a good deal.
Yeah.
If you get nailed, you don't know the boss or they can't touch him. If he gets nailed, vice versa. So you're better off.
I'll tell him I'm getting tired of working the farmers. Tell him I want to work bars or someplace.
Listen, we got plenty of guys working the bars. We got too many. You got a good thing, Andy. Now, just produce. Well, you and Pearl have a good time tonight.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, get to work.
Get to work.
Pearl?
Well?
Oh, what?
Did you tell him you want to meet the boss?
Yeah, I told him.
How do you like the hair this way? Check, huh?
Yeah.
What'd he say? Look around my neck there, see if I missed any hairs putting it up.
No, you didn't miss none, honey.
Well, what'd he say?
Oh, the same old story. I'll be better off if I don't meet the boss.
How do you expect to get ahead in this world if you don't know who you're working for?
Tell you the truth, Pearl, I don't care.
Well, I do.
Why?
Because I want to see you get ahead. You'll never get ahead dealing through Gus. You got to go to somebody higher up, get a better deal. Gus can't give it to you. Listen, that counterfeit costs you 15 cents on the dollar. Right or wrong?
Oh, it's good stuff, honey. Best I ever seen.
And you got to go out and buy chickens and eggs and turkeys with it to get change in the hard stuff. Right or wrong?
Well, that's my territory, baby. The farmers.
Okay, you take $10 in counterfeit. Cost you $1.50. You invest a couple of bucks more in eggs or something you got to throw away, plus gas and oil. How much do you make out of the deal?
Well, it ain't so terrible, Pearl. We live so bad.
And supposing some guy you buy a turkey from, instead of a farmer, he's a Secret Service agent. Then you really bought yourself a turkey.
Well, in this business, you got to take risks. That's the nature of it.
Button me up the back, will you?
Yeah, baby, sure. Oh, they ought to make these things with zippers.
Now, next time you see Gus, you put it on the line about where you stand. You don't tell him, I will.
Okay, I'll tell him.
Didn't you say you bought me some flowers?
Oh, yeah, I'll get them.
No, never mind yet. Just finish the buttoning. Okay. Now, I want you to act like a gentleman when we get to the Tally-Ho Club, because that's a
Who
very...
said we're going to the Tally-Ho?
I did.
Well, they soak you an arm and a leg there.
That's where I want to go, to the Tally-Ho.
To Chief, Secret Service, Treasury, Washington. From Supervising Agent, Chicago District. Counterfeit $10 and $20 Federal Reserve notes in circulation Chicago area, increasing daily. Counterfeit appearing so many different places, unquestionably work of dozens of passes, and indicating well-organized operation. Investigation so far, fruitless. Suggest temporary assignment, this district, as many agents as can be spared. Signed, Eason.
Hello, boss.
Well, Gus, you're up early this morning.
Yeah, I got a big day ahead of me.
What's the matter? You got troubles?
No, not exactly troubles, but a few of them shovers ain't moving the queer as fast as they could.
That's your job, Gus, to make them move it fast. But sooner or later, they're going to grab one of these shovers.
I don't see how they could miss.
And when they do, that's when you and I will have to pull up stakes.
Anything you say, boss. I'll see you later.
Yeah, just a minute.
What?
This chap that you have working the farmers, this Andy, what's his name?
Oh, Trojek, Andy Trojek.
Yes, find out if he was at the Tally-Ho Club last night.
I don't know whether he went there, but he was going out someplace. Why?
Does he have a girl? Blonde?
Yeah, Pearl. Hey, how'd you recognize Andy? You never met him.
You pointed him out to me once.
Oh, yeah.
That blonde is quite a dish.
She ain't bad.
Andy works the farmers, huh?
Yeah.
All right, you tell Andy the Secret Service is getting pretty close to him around where he's working.
Are they?
Tell him he ought to take a trip. Southern Indiana. He should do all right down there. He can take all the time he wants. A couple of weeks.
Hey, what is it?
Just tell him to take the trip. Work down there. And then, about Pearl. Bring her around to meet me. I think she'd be nice company.
Trips I gotta take. Trips.
So for how long is it?
It's for long enough, Gus.
Oh.
What's Pearl gonna do without me? She don't like it none, you know.
Pearl? Well, she'll be all right.
Yeah, maybe. Will I be all right?
Pearl! Now, listen, Andy, the boss says...
I'm getting good and sick of what the boss says. Ready to leave, baby.
Yeah, he's ready.
Well, don't forget to change your socks.
That's all you got to say to me? Don't forget to change your socks.
Watch out for the cops.
Oh, baby, come here.
Andy. Front of people.
Not people. Now, go on, grab your bag, Andy. Come on, get going.
Yeah. Well, I'll write to you, baby.
Yeah, write to me. Well, Gus, sure shipped him off in a hurry, didn't you?
Well, you know how it is, Pearl. Things are getting hard around here. We've got to make the best of a good thing.
Yeah? The boss told you?
Sure, he told me.
Well, you got rid of Andy. What's on your mind? As if I didn't have any idea.
Well, there's nothing on my mind, Pearl.
Look, Gus, let's get something straight. Don't make a play for me. I don't go for your type.
Who was going to make a play for you? We're just going to ask you out to have dinner out, that's all.
That ain't a play?
Well, now, listen, I got my own girl. Just thought maybe you'd like to meet a friend of mine.
Who's your friend? Boss?
Just a friend. Do you want to go or don't you?
No.
Well, what are you going to do sitting around here?
Is he good looking?
Well, he ain't bad looking. He's got dough. Got plenty.
Okay, Gus. You're right. What am I going to do sitting around here?
I'll pick you up at 8 o'clock.
Well, Gangbusters listeners, you can see that complications were developing within this smooth gang of counterfeiters. And agents of the United States Secret Service are the first to take advantage of such complications.
And now back to Gangbusters. And here again, by proxy, is tonight's narrator, the Honorable U.E. Bauman, Chief of the United States Secret Service.
As I was telling you, agents of the United States Secret Service, Treasury Department, were troubled by a gang of well-organized counterfeiters in the Chicago area. In the Chicago office of the Secret Service, Supervising Agent Jack Easton and Agent Al Manners were talking over their problems.
And if that's not enough, Al, Washington says he'll send me every agent that can be spared from every district in the country.
Well, these extra men ought to help some, Mr. Easton, but that counterfeit's just a little too good. Just a little too good.
We'll get them, Al.
I know we'll get them, Mr. Easton, but in the meantime, there's a lot of merchants who are getting nicked.
Yes, and farmers. Don't forget the farmers.
How can I forget the farmers?
You know, when those extra men get in here, I think we'll start concentrating on the farmer angle.
That's a lot of territory to cover.
I know, but I come from a farm family myself. If there's one thing a farmer does, that's read his mail. Now, we've got to get ourselves up a nice bulletin to send out. We've got to tell the farmers to watch out for strangers using 10s and 20s to buy chickens, eggs, turkeys, and so forth. We've got to tell them how to detect this counterfeit and what to do when they see it.
Yeah, maybe that's the angle.
And we'll have men stationed all over Illinois and Indiana. They can follow up any leads the farmers give us, and fast. What do you think, Al?
It's as good as anything.
Okay. Start plans to get this warning notice rolling. And map out the locations where you're going to station the men.
What you drag me into, Gus?
You'll have a good time, Pearl, believe me.
Supposed to go out to dinner with a high-class friend of yours, and where did we wind up? Sure, it was a jukebox.
Oh, there he is. Come on.
Him?
Yeah. Excuse me?
Hey.
Please.
Looks nice. Dignified kind of.
Didn't I tell you? Well, I'm sorry we're a little late, Ralph. We got caught in traffic.
That's all right.
Pearl? Ralph. Ralph Pearl.
Pleased to meet you.
Good. Why don't we sit down?
Thank you.
Gus?
Well, I think I'd better go get my girl, Ralph. You don't mind, huh?
I don't mind.
Neither do I.
Yeah. Well, meet you later.
Now, what'll you have to drink, Pearl?
Whiskey? Soda on the side. What?
Yeah. Waiter, whiskey, soda on the side. Right.
Well, now that that's settled, would you like to straighten me out on something, Ralph?
Of course. Anything.
Just how did all this come about? You and me and everything.
Well, it's really very simple. Gus is a good friend of mine. He's been describing a certain gorgeous blonde to me, and I said I'd like to meet her.
So, here we are.
Not sorry?
No, not me. I'm the last person in the world to get sorry. By the way, what line of work are you in? I always like to know what my gentleman friends do.
You're not really interested, are you?
Okay, if you're ashamed of it.
There's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm a bookie.
A bookie?
I take bets on racehorses.
I know what a bookie does. Where's that waiter with my drink?
He'll be here. I'm sorry to bring you to this place, but it was most convenient for Gus. We'll have dinner downtown someplace.
Gus didn't go to get his girl, did he?
He said that's where he was going.
He won't meet us later, will he?
Mind?
Mind? Tickled to death?
You want to know something? I think we're going to get along fine.
I'll go you one better. I think we're going to get along great.
Good.
We just got another wire, Mr. Easton.
Oh?
Some more of the counterfeit showed up down in Sullivan County, southern Indiana.
Who have you got working there, Al?
Miller.
Mm-hmm. Well, looks like somebody is trying to make the best of a good thing down there. Look, why don't you take a run down to Sullivan and work along with Miller?
Okay.
And you better get going right away, before the shover moves on.
I've got my car right over in the lot. I'll be on my way in 15 minutes.
Let her ring, baby.
I really ought to answer, Ralph.
Why?
I wonder all night who it was. Excuse me. Hello?
Hello, is that all you got to say to me? How are you? Where you been for 3 nights? I'm burning up the wires trying to get you.
Andy, where are you?
In Sullivan, Indiana, honey. I've been working the countryside around here. Oh, I'm making a mint. You miss me, sweetheart?
Of course.
I'll be home Sunday.
Well, if you're doing so well, Andy, why don't you stay out?
Well, I want to see you, baby. I want to talk to you. I'll call you again tomorrow night.
You'll be here Sunday.
Yeah, but I...
Look, Andy, I haven't eaten any dinner. I got my hat and coat on. I just got to go out and eat. I'm starved.
Pearl, what are you giving me? What kind of brush is this?
Call me tomorrow, huh? Bye, Andy. Huh?
Don't look so disgusted.
Now you see what I got to put up with.
You can handle him, can't you?
I don't know, Ralph. I may need a little help.
What do you mean?
I mean, now's the time for us to put our cards on the table. Okay?
All right.
I presume you are interested in me, more or less.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. You want me to do something about Andy?
Well, you are his boss, aren't you?
Well, you won't have any trouble with Andy. First, you'll move where he can't find you. And second, if he becomes too insistent, Gus will have a little talk with him.
7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 3. Here's change, mister.
Thanks. How do you keep one of these turkeys quiet?
Well, you bought him from me. That's your problem now.
Yeah. Well, I'll manage.
Hey, it's a funny thing, mister. Just the other day, I got notice from the United States Secret Service in the mail. Hey, wait a minute. Where? Hazel! Hazel! Where's that circular from the Secret Service? Hazel!
Hello?
Pearl, baby.
Oh, hello, Andy.
Oh, sweetheart, I didn't sleep all night. You were kind of short with me on the phone. What's the matter? Weren't you feeling good? You lonely?
I'm all right. Look, where are you? You still in Indiana?
Yeah, Sullivan in a booth in a drugstore. Listen, honey, I don't like this traveling at all.
You don't, huh?
No, when I get back Sunday, I'm going to tell Gus to give it to the boss straight.
Well, let me tell you something. I've been asking you for months to find out who the boss is. I know him.
You do?
You bet I do, and we're the best of friends.
Pearl.
The very best of friends, and you might as well stay in Sullivan.
What?
If you come in Sunday, you'll find me going and packing right now. Goodbye.
Pearl. Pearl. The boss. The best of friends.
All right, mister.
Hey.
Secret Service.
What do you want with me?
Just a few words and a little of your time. Is that your car parked outside the Chevy?
I don't have a car.
We'll see about that. That car was used by a man answering your description to shove a few counterfeit bills and farmers. One of them got your license number. See what you're carrying.
Stay out of my pockets. You got no right. Okay, you nailed me.
Sure. A stack of counterfeit 20s in your pocket, and then you make an admission. Now go on. Walk out of here. You're going back to Chicago. It's got me worried, Mr. Easton. I don't too much like the idea of trusting that Andy. Even if he is sore about the girl.
Now, if he made a break, you wouldn't get very far. We've got every door covered.
That's not what I mean. I mean, what's he telling Gus over there? What we've told him to? Or is he telling him this place is loaded with Secret Service agents?
That's a chance we have to take, Al. We've got nothing on anybody except Andy. He says this Gus is the contact man. And Gus can lead us to the boss.
I don't like doing business this way.
Well, I don't think Andy will pull any fast one. He's too burned up about the boss stepping in and taking over his girl.
Well, maybe... Uh-oh. Gus is getting up.
Yeah.
There he goes out the door.
Okay, Al. Get behind Gus and stay there.
Yeah. I'll phone you later. Keep your fingers crossed.
On both hands, Al. On both hands.
Okay, Mr. Easton. Done your job for you.
Sit down, Andy.
Thanks.
Did you tell Gus you wanted some more counterfeit?
Yeah, I told him.
What did he say?
Said he'd get it for me.
What about Pearl? Did you ask Gus if he knew where she was?
Yeah. Said he had no idea. Look, Mr. Easton, when you get him, don't let me near her or this boss, whoever he is. I'll tear him apart.
You don't have to worry about that. We'll keep you plenty separated. Okay, let's get going. I think it's safe enough now. Supervising Agent Easton.
This is Al.
Were you able to stay behind Gus?
You bet. All the way. He went to an apartment house on Ithaca, 6722, and he went upstairs to the third floor to an apartment occupied by one Ralph Walters. And he's still up there.
Ralph Walters?
Yeah. I checked on him with the janitor. Walters owns an offset print shop downtown.
Print shop, huh? That could be our man.
Could be. I'd swear to it.
All right, Al. I'll round up the boys and we'll be right over. I want to have a talk with this Mr. Ralph Walters. And now back to Gangbusters.
And then Andy tells me, boss, he tells me, Gus, if you run into Pearl any place, tell her I got to see her.
Fine chance he's got.
Well, Pearl, you want to go back to Andy?
Is that a joke?
Hey, how about another drink? What's the matter? You got prohibition back around here or something?
I'll fix it.
All right, baby.
How about you, honey, the same?
Yes, the same.
Okay.
Great girl, Gus.
Yeah. Only just watch out, boss. She don't do the same thing to you she did to Andy.
I'm not worried.
Well, there are guys around with more money than you got, you know.
Gus, you're a pretty smart boy.
Yeah?
You've been sticking your neck out long enough. You work on the inside from now on. We'll get somebody else to contract the shovers.
Well, a promotion. Thanks, boss.
We've got the best set of plates ever. We can go on for years. Never get touched. We can... Pearl.
Maybe she got her head caught in the icebox.
Pearl.
Okay, I'll be in there.
Guess she didn't.
Well, hurry up, Pearl.
Uh-oh.
That's it, boys. Be smart. Don't make a move.
He knocked on the kitchen door. They said it was the janitor.
We're Secret Service agents. Now listen here and quiet for a while. We want to do a little talking first. When we get finished, you can gab all you want. We'll be all ears.
Well, Gangbusters listeners, before that night was over, agents of the Secret Service had recovered hundreds of thousands of dollars in bogus money and the plates from which it was printed. The names of a dozen or so passers of counterfeit were also known to them. And the general roundup began. Members of this gang are now serving terms ranging from 4 to 14 years in various federal penitentiaries.
Well, thank you, Chief U.E. Bauman, for this insight into the work of the United States Secret Service Treasury Department. Now, you've told me that there are still thousands of bogus $10 and $20 bills in circulation. So, in place of our regular clue tonight, here is a detailed description of these bills. Anyone who handles money should take a pad and pencil and write down this information.
Attention, all citizens, retail merchants, and cashiers in particular. To save yourself money, be on the alert for counterfeit $10 and $20 bills on the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. Letter G, G as in George, in a seal on the face of the bill, left side.
If you have such a $10 bill, check the portrait of Alexander Hamilton. On the counterfeit, the hairline has an unnaturally white appearance. If you have a $20 bill with letter G in the seal, look for one of these numbers on the face of the bill in the lower right-hand corner. G110, H110, I110, J110, K108, or L108. For further details, consult your bank or the nearest office of the United States Secret Service.
Warning. When you accept counterfeit money, you are the loser. These counterfeit $10 and $20 notes on the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago are very deceptive and are expertly reproduced. The silk threads found in the paper of genuine bills are simulated by red ink marks, or cannot be found at all. If in doubt, carefully compare a suspected note with a genuine one, or telephone police or the U.S. Secret Service.
If you are given one of these counterfeit $10 or $20 notes, attempt to delay the party and notify your local police or the nearest office of the United States Secret Service at once. Tonight's case was dramatized by Stanley Nitz and directed by William Sweets, with Mandel Kramer and Elspeth Eric in leading roles. Jay Jackson speaking. Gangbusters is a Phillips H. Lord production.
Proudly we hail. From New York City, where the American stage begins, here is another program with a cast of outstanding players. Public service time has been made available by this station for your Army and your Air Force to bring you this story, as proudly we hail the men who pioneered our West. Entitled Kit Carson and the Silk Hat, the dramatic story of the men, civilian and military, who faced high adventure in our great frontier of the West. Our first act curtain will rise in just a moment, but first, young man, why not let a thought for tomorrow be your thought for today? Right now, your United States Army, the senior service, needs qualified technicians in such varied and interesting fields as radio, radar, meteorology, photography, and many, many others. Yes, you can be trained to do a job and acquire a skill that will be of great benefit to you for the rest of your life. You can also take pride in the fact that you answered your country's call in time of great need. Why not let a thought for tomorrow be your thought for today? Visit your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station and enlist in the United States Army. Remember, let a thought for tomorrow be your thought for today. And now, your Army and your Air Force present the proudly we hail production, Kit Carson and the Silk Hat. Our American past abounds with the colorful lives and amazing exploits of its frontier heroes. But perhaps the most colorful, amazing, and wonderful of all was the man named Christopher Carson. Kit Carson, mountain man, hunter, scout, Indian fighter, soldier, and explorer. Top dog of the alligator breed, a symbol for all time of the American frontier. Let's open the book of Kit's life. Turn back the wheel of time and ride down the trail to high adventure.
Whoa. What do you make of it, Kit?
Right high up to accurately tell. Ain't Indian sign.
Ain't no Indian that dumb.
Pretty far off the trail for settlers.
Maybe it ain't smoke at all, eh?
Huh. I know the place up beyond the North Fork where there was a hole in the ground that the devil blew smoke out of. He might have moved down here.
But he didn't.
Don't expect so. Only way to find out what's making that smoke is to ride on down and have a look-see.
Know the horse, too, lost his hair in that manner.
Check your priming, shut your jaw, and let's stretch out.
I figure. Cheyennes could be setting a trap for idiots like us come nosing about, or some fool greenhorn got lost and don't know no better.
That's right smart thinking, Bill. You coming?
Yeah. Come on. Now, if that don't beat all.
Must be new to this life.
Ain't gonna last long, can bet on that.
That's what city living does to a critter. That's prime horse flesh they got, just asking to be run off.
2 prime horses, 2 prime mules, and 4 loco tenderfeet. Inviting every Indian from here to the Cimarron to come and take over.
And 2 there are Mexicans. Little more than boys at my eyesight ain't failing. Servants for them 2 silk hats sitting in front of that tent.
So it appears. Well, let's ride on down and see what we can do.
Best you stay here. I'll get 'em up and moving. We'll make tracks for Santa Fe over the ridge.
If I see sign, I'll bark like a fox.
Been seeing enough signs all day to keep you yapping for a week.
Maybe we ought to let them dandies lose their hair. Might teach them a lesson.
Magnificent view, Everett. The mountains stretching away on every side.
Capital, Charles, capital. Your idea of leaving the trail was excellent. Here, no one can bother us.
It's necessary to take precautions out here. A little judgment can save a lot of trouble.
Oh, by the time we reach Santa Fe, we'll be real outdoor men.
Right. Our boys seem quite perturbed by our action.
I can never understand what they're saying, Charles. Do you suppose they have any idea what we've got packed in those saddlebags?
Well, my dear Everett, I certainly haven't told them.
Well, I certainly didn't mean to. Oh, my word, there's someone coming.
What? Well, he just popped up out of the ground. Hello there!
My name's Carson. I live around these parts. Put out that far side of your horses and let's get moving.
You're moving?
Mister, we ain't got no time to argue, If you want to keep your hair, do as I say.
I think we'd better do as he says, Everett. Gonzalez, Lopez, the tent.
Leave it. Just saddle up.
Now, see here, may I ask what
Never mind the saddles. Get on and follow me.
Everett, don't argue. Gonzalez, Lopez, the horses. Cross.
I demand to know what this is all about.
Mister, you don't... There. Got a clear enough picture for you.
Indians. Well, where did they come from?
Well, there must be at least 100 of them.
At least. Cheyenne war party.
But how could they have known we were here?
How many guns have you got?
Why are they just sitting there watching us?
How many guns? 4 pistols, 2 rifles, and a fowling piece.
Get them. Get down in that gully and wait till I come back.
Well, what do you plan to do?
Hold a parley. I was married to a Cheyenne girl once. Maybe some of that party will remember me.
Bless my soul, Charles. What have we gotten into?
I come in peace. Those string warriors, I'm the Weenies, named by your great chief, Yellow Wolf. I would rest and smoke the pipe in the lodge of my brothers, for I am a brother to the Cheyennes, and Gray Thunder, keeper of the medicine arrows, was my father.
Those string warriors have no white brothers. Chief Yellow Wolf lies in his lodge, old and broken, waiting for the death bird. Gray Thunder has gone to rest. I, Black Wolf, am chief. The Weenus is sick in the head to make smoke. I shall take his scalp and let the bad spirits out.
If Black Wolf were truly a great chief, he would know my medicine is strong. He would know my victories are many. He would know I come in peace.
Your voice is like the wind in my ears. It whispers, but I understand it not. Go back to your lodge and sing your death song, the Weenus. Black Wolf has come to kill.
Is Black Wolf such a great warrior that he needs 100 braves to battle 2 boys, 2 squaw men, and Weenies?
Go back, white man. Our talk is done.
Have those string warriors become our women? Do they tell stories around the fire of how 100 of their bravest came against so few? It was not so when I lived amongst them. If Black Wolf is not an old woman dressed like a man, I shall match my medicine against his.
Oh! Black Wolf will send bequeath to his ancestors.
And if Black Wolf fails, my party goes in peace.
So be it. I, Black Wolf, have spoken.
Are they going to let us go, Mr. Carson?
Maybe. Chief and I are going to have a little go around. Take my rifle and these pistols. If he puts me under, you'll need them. 2 fire and 2 load. Now stay down in the gully. My partner's up there in them rocks. He'll help you best he can.
But I don't understand, sir. What are you trying to do?
I made a dicker with the chief. We're going to fight it out. If I win, we're safe. If I lose, you've got a fight on your hands.
This is terrible.
It ain't exactly my idea of fun.
What are you going to fight him with?
Knife. Remember, 2 fire and 2 load. Wish me luck.
Charles, they're going to fight a duel with knives. I don't think our leaving the trail was such a good idea after all, Everett. Well, what can we do? Say that he wins? Well, look, they're riding right for each other. Oh, it's terrible, but it's magnificent. I don't think I can watch. Everett, are you a good shot? Awful. They're both down. Someone, please help Mr. Carson. What's happening? But I can't tell. They're rolling around the stream. I think we'd better go down in the gulf. Oh, no. What will poor wife Matilda say when she hears about this? No. Look, it's Mr. Carson. Huh? He's getting back on his horse. Charles, he won. He won. Everett, I feel very faint.
You gents mind telling me what brung you out here?
Well, we came around...
Keep your voice down.
I beg your pardon. We came to Spanish California by ship on business. We thought it would be interesting to go home overland.
You mean you traveled all this way from California alone?
Oh, no. We were with a big party until Albuquerque. We thought it would be interesting to travel to Santa Fe alone and hire guides there to take us the rest of the way.
Didn't figure you could keep your hair that long a distance by yourself.
Oh.
Don't feel like you learned much about this country out here.
We're deeply grateful to you. We didn't realize.
Well, out here, mister, you realize you just ain't.
That's fine, Bill. Might be better if we stayed put for the night. We can fork up here.
Right prime spot, kid.
Well, didn't they give their word not to attack if you beat their chief?
Once they stop to think about it, they might change their minds. They don't care so much about us as our horses and them mules.
You mean they kill us just for our animals?
Sure. Horses is wealth in India. Like the gold you got in them saddlebags.
Gold?
Well, the way you've been toting them along, there must be gold in it.
Yes, it's gold to us.
Struck it rich, huh?
You might say that.
Beats all how someone ain't took it off you yet.
Oh, we haven't told a soul about the contents of those bags.
Oh, ain't that rich?
Now, let's stop the talk and make camp. By the way, gentlemen, I don't think we know your name.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mr. Carson. I'm Mr. Weatherhead, and this is Mr. Brevort.
Well, that's fine. Now let's see if we can make camp without letting every Indian in the territory in on it.
Mr. Carson, Mr. Williams, we're eternally indebted to you. You saved our lives and brought us safely here to Santa Fe. If there's any way in which we can repay...
Weatherhead, we're glad we happened along. The only way you can repay us is to remember not to travel alone and never build a campfire in the middle of Indian country on a bright, clear day.
Oh, you can wager we won't do that again, Mr. Carson.
Well, then, goodbye and good luck. And don't say anything to anybody about what you got in them saddlebags.
Not a soul. Not to a solitary soul. Goodbye, Mr. Williams.
Adios, amigos. Keep your hair on tight. Come on, boy. Up.
Amazing fellow. Absolutely amazing. Sterling. Well, Charles, how about a drink and a bath, and then we'll round up some guides to take us on our way.
You are listening to the proudly we hail production, Kit Carson and the Silk Cats, Our story will continue in just a moment after this important message. Young man, if you're interested in continuing your education, here is important news for you. The senior service of our armed forces, the United States Army, urgently needs qualified technicians to operate and maintain the many kinds of equipment that science has brought into being. Right now, men are being trained in such varied fields as radio, radar, meteorology, mechanics, electronics, photography, and many, many others. This training is given by the finest technical training schools in the world. It's an excellent opportunity for young men with intelligence and ambition. It can be the start of a great career for you. For full details, visit your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station. Do it today. You are listening to Proudly We Hail. And now we present the second act of Kit Carson and the Silk Hat.
What you want, Fox?
That ain't no way to talk. I got a job for you if you want it.
Don't want no job from the likes of you.
Plenty of money in it.
How much?
Well, I don't rightly know.
Now, what kind of talk is that?
You notice them two silk hats that just walked out?
Maybe.
Want some guides to see him safe to Oklahoma City. I got the job. Gonna hire 20 more good boys.
Just to take 2 silk hats east?
Well, confidential like. They let me in on a little secret. They're carrying some mighty valuable goods all the way from California. Gold! Ain't nothing else of any value I know of out there.
What's your plan?
I thought you might change your tune. Head for the Cimarron River. Awful deep and fast moving in spots. Silk hats might go under saddlebags and all. We could winter right nice down in Texas.
I ain't no party to murder, Fox. Give me that bottle and clear off.
Come in. Oh, Kid, come in.
They said you was looking for me, Lieutenant Taylor.
Yes, they said right. Pull up a chair and rest easy. How have you been, Kid?
Sassy as a wild horse.
You busy?
Not for another 10 days. You got a job you want me to do?
No rascal named Fox.
I heard tell of him. Like a bad hunk of bear meat.
Exactly. He and a party are headed up toward the Cimarron. I'd like you to take 10 of my troopers and go out and bring them in.
What's he done?
Well, there was a lot of money here in town. Merchants are complaining.
There's a lot of money in my time, too. Don't rightly see it's a crime if a man aims to pay it back.
Well, that's just it. He doesn't plan to.
How you know that?
We heard it.
Sorry, Lieutenant. That ain't my kind of work.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Cat. Sit down. It's not a debt we want Fox arrested for. We think he's out to murder 2 silk hats named Weatherhead and Breedboard.
Weatherhead? Oh, no.
You know them?
Yeah, I've made their acquaintance. Well, why didn't you give it to me straight in the first place, Lieutenant?
Well, it's a ticklish business, Kit. We got the information from a drunken old trapper named Red Eye. Now that he's sober, he denies the whole thing. We figured if we could pick up Fox on a debt charge, why, we'd at least save the dude.
You got Red Eye here?
Yeah. In the other room.
Let me have a word with him. Now, Red Eye, how many of the ones he hired are in on it?
I tell you, I don't know, Kit. Come to me with the idea. I told him no.
Well, how do you know about the gold?
I guess they told him.
You're sure they're heading for the Cimarron?
That's what Fox said, Kit.
Red Eye, you'd have saved us all a password trouble if you'd have told me this a week ago.
I didn't know you was in town, kid. I thought you was up in Texas.
Well, I guess it's straight, Lieutenant. I'll get Bill Williams and we'll stretch you out.
Fine. My men will be ready in half an hour.
We got a week's head start. We're going to have to do some riding to get there in time.
This is going to wipe out all trails, Dice.
I know. That's a chance that they don't expect to be followed. They're heading straight on. I think we'll cross here and keep going.
Where they're heading, free of folks. Never heard such names. I ain't never known such fools.
All right, let's move.
Yep.
All right, come on.
Kid, what's the plan when we hit the fort?
Red Eye said Fox plans to winter in Texas. Likely to take Southport.
Maybe we should split up, eh?
If we don't run onto their sign soon, we may have to.
The horses can't keep up this pace much longer. Got to rest them soon.
I know. Mr. Fox, how soon till we reach the Cimarron?
Ain't far, Mr. Weatherhead. Ain't far at all. Camp here tonight and noon there tomorrow.
Oh, splendid. We're making excellent time, Charles.
Yeah, we're doing right well. Good thing you hired us, gents. Never know what you're going to run into out here.
We found that out, didn't we, ever?
Oh, my word, yes. Do you know a gentleman named Carson, Mr. Fox?
Carson? What about him?
Nothing, only he saved our lives. Fought a duel with an Indian chief to save us.
Well, do tell. Quite a hero, ain't he, huh?
Well, it was his advice that we hired you and the rest of your friends.
Huh? Carson told you to hire me?
Well, he didn't name you, but he suggested we get hold of some reputable guys.
You hear that, boys? We'll sure have to drink to Kit Carson.
Their camp riding, huh?
Spent the night here.
3 hours gone. Till noon to Cimarron River.
Fears we might be a little late, didn't it?
I don't mind being late. If we ain't too late.
Mr. Fox, are we making camp here?
Well, the river's a little rough for crossing. Thought you might admire the stop here. Kind of look around.
Well, that's very thoughtful of you, Mr. Fox, but we just as soon move on. Couldn't we find a shallow place to cross over?
Well, now, that's a peculiar thing about the Sin. When she floods, she just floods over. Besides, you wouldn't want to be risking losing what you got in them saddlebags.
Saddlebags?
Oh, don't you worry none, Mr. Weatherhead. Your gold's as safe with us as if it was in a bank.
Well, you can be sure those saddlebags have traveled much too far with us to risk losing them in the river. How long will it be before we can cross, Mr. Fox?
Yeah, shouldn't be long. Shouldn't be long at all. Sin goes down almost fast she comes up.
What an amazing river, Everett. Oh, everything about this west is amazing.
How about some grub, gents? I always figure out here you never know when you're eating your last meal. When I go under, well, I want to go under with a full belly.
You don't think there's any danger, do you? I mean, from the Indians?
Stays likely, but you never know.
Oh, a fine repast, Charles.
Excellent. Who'd ever think we'd be eating buffalo steak?
Marvelous. Is something wrong, Mr. Fox?
Yes. I'd like you to walk down to the riverbank with me.
Is something the matter?
Well, I don't rightly know. Just something I think it's time you both found out about.
Found out about?
Yep. Let's not do our talking here. Let's go where we can't be heard.
Oh, yes, let's do that by all means. If there's something we should know, we'd best hear about it.
Yeah, you've got a head on your shoulders, Mr. Brevoort. Follow me.
Fox, stand fast. We're surrounded. We're coming in.
What? Let's get
say that Mr. Fox intended to kill us in cold blood?
Weren't very neighborly of him, was it?
I can't believe it. I simply can't believe it. Why would he want to do a thing like that?
He and his friends were interested in what you got in them saddlebags.
But I don't understand.
I don't wonder none. I just don't wonder.
We owe you our lives again, Mr. Carson.
Gentlemen, you don't owe me nothing.
Oh, but you must let us give you a reward this time.
I'll get that when I go to heaven. Don't you worry about it none. The rest of your party that wasn't in on this with Fox, they'll see you at Oklahoma City.
I'd like to give that scoundrel a piece of my mind.
Bring on Fox.
All right, watch it. Watch it. All right, Carson, all right. I got a gun on your back. Tell your men do as I say.
Do like you said, kid. Ain't no cause to be plowed under by such a low varmint.
Mr. Fox, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're nothing but... Shut up, Silkhat. Order one of them soldiers. Saddle up my horse.
Sergeant, do as he says.
You ain't going to get away with this.
You two go bring them saddlebags here, Fronto. Don't move, Williams, or he's a dead un.
Get the saddlebag.
Do
like he says.
Hurry up with that horse.
You won't get 5 miles.
You'll get 6 feet if you don't sing down. All right now, soldier. Get away from her. Come here, boy. What are you going to do with these? Just put them down, gentle like. But this is ridiculous. Do you know, sir, open them up. Don't you wink a hair, Carson. Come on, open them up. We spent 6 months. Take out half the gold. What? I think you have gold in these bags. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. If you don't take out that gold, well, here's the gold we have, Mr. Fox. Yes, it's gold to us, Mr. Fox. We're book collectors, and these are what we collected in California. Rare old Spanish books. What kind of crazy local talk is with you?
Tie him up good, Sergeant. He'll be a mite wolfish when he wakes up.
Wolf. If that don't beat all. He was carrying books. Kip, think that's all them Silkhats were carrying?
Books? Bill, it don't seem natural, I admit. I heard tell once of a fella who cut out the inside of a book to hide a nugget in it.
Think maybe they wasn't so dumb? Think maybe that's what they done?
Well, that's something we ain't never gonna know.
It shall not happen here. That is the unspoken prayer of every man in the United States Army. That is the unspoken reason for our growing military might. But the time has come to speak. The time has come to tell of that small phrase, those 5 words, it shall not happen here. Let us speak only to those young men of America who have not taken pause to think. Let's shout it in a voice that will reach into every city and village, across the length and breadth of this great land. Young man, you are needed. You are needed to help preserve the peace. You are needed to serve in your United States Army, to ensure for your loved ones that it shall not happen here. This has been another program on Proudly We Hail, presented transcribed in cooperation with this station. Proudly We Hail is produced by the Recruiting Publicity Bureau for the United States Army and United States Air Force Recruiting Service. This is Kenneth Banghart speaking and inviting you to tune in this same station next week for another interesting story on Proudly We Hail.
Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And as for me, well, I'd like to talk about those few minutes you have while you're waiting for dinner every evening. That's the perfect time for a glass of Petri California Sherry. Petri Sherry is the best beginning a good meal ever had. You really feel like you're enjoying the good things of life when you take time for a glass of Petri Sherry. Hold that glass of sherry to the light. Look at it. It's a beautiful dark amber. Yes, and Petri Sherry is clear and fragrant, the way a good wine should be. Now taste it. You've got something. That Petri Sherry has a real heart-of-the-grape flavor. Oh, and look, if you like sherry dry, not sweet, Petri makes a fine dry sherry. It's called Petri Pale Dry. And if you don't know yet which you prefer, the regular sherry or the dry, why not try both? Don't buy one, buy two. But just be sure you always buy Petri. And now let's look in on our old friend, Dr. Watson. I'm sure he's expecting us. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Draw up your usual chair. I'll get on with tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure.
Well, how did the story begin, Doctor?
It was one day in the autumn of 1887, I remember. Holmes and I were seated on either side of the fire in our Baker Street lodgings. The great man, his eyes half closed, his long, thin fingers pressed together, lay back in his chair, filling the room with large blue clouds of tobacco smoke, and discoursing on one of his favorite subjects, Professor Moriarty. I can almost hear him now, Mr. Bartell, as he said...
Napoleon of crime, Watson. Is the organizer of half that is evil and nearly all that is undetected in this great metropolis.
Oh, surely that's an exaggeration,
No, it
Holmes.
isn't, my dear fellow. He has a brain of the first order, and his agents are numerous and splendidly organized. He himself sits motionless like a spider in the center of his web. But that web has 1,000 radiations, and he knows every quiver of each one of them. It's fortunate for me that there's only one Moriarty. If every criminal were equally astute, I'd be in bankruptcy within the year.
I don't think you need to worry about bankruptcy, Holmes. As I came in just now, I picked these letters up from the whole table and slipped them into my pocket. Here you are.
Oh, thanks, old chap.
They didn't look like bills to me. I observed the crest of the Duke of Carlisle on the top envelope.
Oh, dear me. 500 guineas. His Grace is extremely generous in his evaluation of my services.
I don't agree. After all, you did save him from a shocking scandal.
Oh, listen to this, Watson.
I seen you yesterday when you come to the cricket match. You wasn't watching the cricket. If you value your life, keep your filthy long nose to yourself.
And it's signed Joe the Butcher.
Long nose. Who on earth? Joe the Butcher.
A minor criminal that I was instrumental in sending to prison for a short term. He flatters himself, though. I was watching the cricket. No idea that Joe was back in practice again. I must keep an eye on him. Hello. Letter on Carson Hotel stationery. Now, I said, this is interesting. Very interesting.
Oh, what's that, Holmes?
Dear Mr. Holmes, I've been informed that you are a man of ability and discretion. My life is in grave danger, and I need your help. Upon receipt of this letter, come to my hotel at once. I shall be expecting you. And it's signed, Francois Dulac.
That's rather peremptory, isn't it? No, please, just come to my hotel at once. Who is this Dulac, anyway?
What's no, fellow?
Yeah?
We were talking of Moriarty just now. I have a feeling that this letter may lead us to him.
Well, what makes you say that?
Francois Dulac, the writer of this letter, is recognized in France as the one indisputable authority on the paintings of Jean-Baptiste Greuze.
Well, I still don't see the connection with Moriarty.
If there is one thing Moriarty loves, more than the dazzling abstractions of mathematics and even more dazzling achievements of crime, it is the paintings of Greuze. The suggested combination of impending danger and a Greuze expert spells Moriarty to me. Get your hat and coat, old fellow. We're off to the Carson Hotel to see Mr. Dulac at once.
This is room 212, all right, but there's no answer.
I'll knock again.
Shall I go and get someone to unlock the door?
No, chap.
Huh?
don't want to attract attention to our prospective client. Hotel locks shouldn't be very hard to pick. Here. The skeleton key should do the trick quite easily.
Well, the man at the desk downstairs said that Mr. Dulac was in his room.
You know, Watson, he said he thought he was in his room. Uh-huh. Easier than I anticipated. Come on, let's go in.
Doesn't look as if anyone's occupying this room. No signs of any personal belongings.
No clothes hanging in the wardrobe, no luggage.
Yet he is still registered here.
Hello. What's this stain on the carpet, that bed here?
Great Scott, is it...
It's a blood stain, Watson.
Blood stain?
And the stain is still damp. I'm afraid we're too late. Come on. We can do no more good here.
You're not giving up, Holmes?
No, of course not, my dear fellow. Let's see what we can find out from the hotel manager. I refuse to believe that in the 19th century a distinguished foreigner can vanish into thin air.
Yes, Monsieur Dulac did have a visitor early on today, Mr. Holmes.
You remember his name?
I think it was Perkins or Parsons, but I'm not sure.
Can you describe his appearance?
I think so, Mr. Holmes. He was a very tall gentleman, tall and thin, with deep-sunk eyes.
Clean-shaven?
Oh, yes, sir. He had a high forehead and a funny way of moving his head from side to side.
Oh, yes.
By Jove, Holmes, that's almost an exact description of Moriarty.
Exactly, Watson. Have you seen Monsieur Dulac since this Mr. Perkins or Parsons called on him?
No, I haven't, sir. But his visitor came back only an hour ago. He had some men with him. They carried some large packages out of the hotel.
Packages? But not luggage, eh?
No, packages, Mr. Holmes.
Has Monsieur Dulac received any other visitors since he arrived here?
None that had been here to see him, sir. But I understand that Sir Henry Davenant has been most anxious to get in touch with him.
Sir Henry Davenant? Thank you. I'm extremely obliged to you. Come on, Watson.
Always proud to be of service to Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
The plot begins here, Watson.
What makes you say that, huh?
Sir Henry Davenant is a millionaire whose art collection is world famous. A year ago, the papers were full of his latest acquisition, the gem of his collection, Jean-Baptiste Greu's painting, Young Girl with a Gazelle. And now it would appear that for some reason Moriarty wishes to prevent a meeting between Sir Harry Davenant and Monsieur Dulac, a Greu's expert. Now, do you see why the plot begins to clear?
Vaguely, but what are you going to do?
Davenant said there's something to permit. It won't have anything to do with officials, interviewers, and people like that. But we know that he wishes to consult an expert on the paintings of Jean-Baptiste Greu's. The next move should be obvious, old chap.
Gracious me, you mean that you'll impersonate one?
Certainly. If a Greu's expert is what he wants, then a Greu's expert is what he's going to get.
Holmes, I must say your disguise is amazingly effective.
Monsieur, you do me the great honor. If I appear convincing to the astute Dr. Watson, how can I fail to convince Sir Henry Davenant?
Oh, my dear fellow, it's marvelous. Appallingly good.
Yes. Here we are, sir. Sir Henry's house. Well, let's hope for the best, old fellow.
I don't know exactly what a French art expert looks like, but I could certainly believe that you were one. I only hope that I can be equally convincing in the role of a patron of the arts.
You certainly look your part, old chap.
Good afternoon. Can I help you?
My name is Vernet. André Vernet. I am most anxious to make the acquaintance of Sir Henry Davenant.
I'm afraid that Sir Henry is extremely difficult to see, sir. I can tell him you're here, but he very rarely gives interviews.
That is a great disappointment to me. Perhaps you would just go and tell him I am a pupil and a disciple of the great François Dulac.
I will do what I can, sir. Come in, won't you, gentlemen? If you'll wait here for a moment, I'll take your message. What was the name again,
Vernet, André Vernet, and this gentleman is Mr. Watson.
Very good, sir.
Well, we got into the house. Now let's hope that you can impress the master of it.
Now, there's easier task I fear, Opera. I've had to match opinions on the paintings of Greu's with an expert. My knowledge of the subject is somewhat sketchy, I'm afraid.
Yes, and mine is absolutely nil.
Greu's was a naturalistic painter who flourished at the close of the 18th century, and though his paintings command a fabulous fee in this day and age, he himself died in great poverty.
Someone's coming.
Monsieur Vernet, will you and Mr. Watson come with me, please? Sir Henry is most anxious to meet you.
Merci, mademoiselle.
My name is Violet Jackson. I look after Sir Henry's art collection.
Indeed, a very pleasurable job, I'm sure, my dear. From what I hear, he has a magnificent gallery.
He has one of the finest in the world.
Yes.
His latest acquisition is the famous young girl with the Gazelle by Greuze. Oh, but I'm sure you know all about that, Monsieur Vernet. I think you said in your message you were a student of the great Dulac.
I have that inestimable privilege, mademoiselle.
Oh, this is Sir Henry's study.
Come in. Oh, thank you, Violet. You may go.
Yes, Sir Henry.
You're Vernet, I'm sure, and this is Mr. Watson? That's right, Sir Henry. Mr. Vernet is staying with me. I see. Well, sit down, won't you? Look, Vernet, you're a friend of Dulac's, aren't you?
I think I may claim that honor, monsieur.
Then why in thunder can't I get in touch with him? He's staying at the Carson Hotel, isn't he?
He was, or has been staying there, monsieur. Oui.
I've left half a dozen messages for him asking him to come and see me, and he hasn't answered one of them. I can't understand it. It's most important that I see him.
Monsieur is in some trouble, perhaps?
Perhaps. Now, you fellows are familiar with the painting by Greuze, the young lady with the Gazelle, aren't you? Oh, yes, Sir Henry. Yes, indeed. Oh, you are, eh? What do you think of it? Well,
one of the greatest works, in my humble opinion, monsieur. Of course, I have only seen a reproduction, but it seemed to me to have a freshness of vigor of the flesh tints, a great firmness and brilliance of line. You are indeed fortunate to own it, monsieur.
Don't know how fortunate. It cost me £40,000.
I still say you are most fortunate, monsieur. Would you grant me the honor of to examine the original?
Well, I don't know whether I ought to. I've had to guard it very carefully ever since this... Well, but perhaps in your case I can make an exception. You received threats regarding the painting, Sir Henry? Yes, I have, Mr. Watson. And they've worried me so much that I've even thought of engaging the services of a private detective.
Oh, indeed, monsieur. How very interesting.
The Duke of Carlisle strongly recommended a fellow by the name of Sherlock Holmes. I was seriously thinking of going to him.
Instead of which?
He has come to you, Sir Henry. In fact, it will save us all a lot of time, I'm sure.
Well, what kind of horseplay is this, sir? Who the devil are you?
My name is Sherlock Holmes.
Then why do you come here masquerading as a French art expert?
Because I'd heard of your aversion to giving interviews, and I wanted to see you urgently. I felt that in the character of a supposed Greuze expert, I was most likely to gain immediate admission.
Well, then, your friend here?
Dr. Watson, my colleague.
Well, it's all turned out for the best, Sir Henry. You wanted to consult Mr. Holmes, and he was most anxious to see you. Yes. Well, I'm glad you fellows are here. You see, I'm devilish worried about that Greuze of mine.
Oh, why, Sir Henry?
Well, I bought it at an auction. But there was another man bidding against me all the time, and when it was finally knocked down in my name, he became most insulting. He seemed unable to bear not owning the picture himself. He told me bluntly that I wouldn't enjoy it long. Well, I didn't think much about it at the time, but lately I've been receiving postcards repeating the threat. I don't like it, that's a fact. Well, you've kept those postcards, I hope, Sir Henry? No, threw them in the fire where they belong.
Oh, that's a pity, sir. Can you recall the name of this bidder at the auction who threatened you?
No, didn't know his name.
Can you describe his appearance?
Well, let me see. He was tall, clean-shaven. Mm-hmm. A curious habit of moving his head from side to side. Moriarty again.
Yes, old chap, my supposition was correct. Now, tell me, Sir Henry, is the painting safely guarded?
Well, I'd say that it was impregnable, Holmes. It's not in my regular galleries. I had a special strong room built for it when I started to receive his threats. It has a lock to which only I know the combination, and a special clockwork device that so controls the room that even I can only enter it during certain daytime hours.
And yet, Sir Henry, with such thorough precautions, you appear to be frightened. Why?
Well, I hardly dare trust my own shadow, Holmes. But as you possibly know, one of Greuze's pupils, a certain Madame Ledoux, imitated his paintings most successfully. Several of the experts were fooled. I confess that I've been frightened lately, since I received the threat, that a clever man might try and substitute a fake painting for the original, if indeed he hasn't already done so. That's why I was so anxious to get in touch with Dulac. He'd know a fraud at once. But a substitution would be impossible if you're the only one that knows the combination to the lock of the strong room. Well, that's what my logic tells me too, Doctor. And yet I'm very uneasy, I must confess.
It's still daylight, Sir Henry. Would it be possible for us to examine the painting now?
Well, certainly. By the way, what happened to Francois Dulac? Did he leave the Carson Hotel? He did, sir. The circumstances of his departure made us distinctly uneasy.
In what way? His room was empty. There were no signs of luggage, and yet...
Come in. Yes, Violet, what is it?
It's note was just left for you, Sir Henry. I was asked to deliver it at once.
Who left it, Violet?
Well, he didn't give his name, Sir Henry. But he was a tall, thin man with deep, sunk eyes.
Oh. What's the note say?
Oh, it's the same fellow again. Listen to this. I told you you wouldn't enjoy the painting for long. You didn't, did you?
Great Scott, it's money off.
Holmes, I don't see anything funny about this. What makes you laugh? It's obvious that my painting has been stolen.
I find nothing funny about it either, Sir Henry. But I must admit a certain pleasure. Once again, I'm crossing swords with an adversary who was more than worthy of my steel.
You'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a second, so I'm just going to remind you that Petri Sherry could really be called the all-round, all-American wine. That's right, Petri California Sherry. Now, the reason I say that is because Petri Sherry is not only a swell before dinner wine, but it's a perfect wine for almost any occasion. When company drops in, serve Petri Sherry. After dinner, when you're just sitting around chatting, Petri Sherry again is just right. Believe me, you couldn't ask for a better all-round wine than sherry. You couldn't ask for a better tasting sherry than Petri. Petri Sherry. Well, Dr. Watson, you've kept me on the edge of my chair so far with your story. What happened next? Did Sir Henry Davenant take you to see his famous painting?
He did, Mr. Bartell. Together with Miss Violet Jackson, we descended countless flights of stairs. Doors opened where no one expected a door to exist. Finally, after walking down a narrow stone staircase that turned and twisted, we came up against a blank wall. It seemed that we could go no further. But a time clock, a combination of numbers, and a hidden door slid back. We stood in the interior of a small room. A room with no windows and hardly any light. An oil painting stood on an easel before us. It was the incomparable Greuze painting of the young girl with the Gazelle. We stood looking at it for a brief moment, and then Sir Henry Davenant said,
Heaven, the painting is still safe.
Yes, Sir Henry. If it still is the same painting.
It looks the same, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, it does to me.
The fact remains that only Francois Dulac could tell us if it is the same or a brilliant copy.
Yes, and Mr. Dulac has been silenced.
So it would seem. Of course, we asked the experts at the British Museum to pass judgment.
Yeah, but how could it have been stolen? It'd be impossible to smuggle it out of here and replace it with a copy.
There's only one way of being absolutely certain. With your permission, Sir Henry, I should like to make a test.
You're going to take a sample of the paint, Mr. Holmes?
Yes, that should give us certain proof.
Well, very well. You'd better do it, Violet. But be careful. Remember, the painting cost me £40,000.
A minute fragment of paint will be sufficient for the test, won't it, Mr. Holmes?
Indeed.
With my fingernails, Sir Henry, I'll scratch off a tiny sample.
Personally, I think it's a dash fine bit of work, whoever painted it.
There you are, Mr. Holmes. Is that enough paint
Splendid,
for
Miss
you?
Jackson, splendid. Thank you. Please put it on this envelope for me, will you? That's it. And now, Sir Henry, I shall return to Baker Street and analyze this paint. Within an hour, I shall be able to tell you whether the painting is worth £40,000 or a plug farthing.
Well, Holmes, did you make the test?
I did, Sir Henry.
And?
I'm afraid there's no doubt that your painting is a fraud.
Oh, fraud.
The sample of paint I examined was manufactured not more than 25 years ago, and Greuze died in 1805.
Well, I still say that it's a fine painting, whoever did it. I wouldn't mind having it myself.
I agree, Dr. Watson. In fact, I'd be glad to buy it. It's a brilliant copy, and more than likely it was done by Madame Ledoux.
You're remarkably quiet, Sir Henry.
£40,000. £40,000.
No, sir, put that knife down. Holmes, help me grab him.
Don't worry, gentlemen. I'm not about to commit suicide in despair, if that's what you're thinking.
Now, why are you grasping that knife, sir?
Because I have work to do in my strong room. I'm going to use this knife to smash that lying camp into 40,000 pieces.
Yes, well, I suppose you're right, Violet. It's childish to mutilate this daub.
It's a brilliant fraud, Sir Henry. I'd like to have it. I'll buy it from you gladly.
Buy it from me?
You can have it. Go and make arrangements to have the wretched thing taken away at once. I don't want any frauds in my collection.
Yes, Sir Henry. And thank you.
Now, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, I'll pay you any fee you name if you can tell me how the original painting was stolen.
Well, Sir Henry, the how must here precede the who. And the how, I must confess, seems impossible.
Yes, I agree. This is the sealed metal room. The only entrance is through the door. That has a combination that only you know, Sir Henry.
Perfectly true. It's impossible for anyone to enter this room without my being present. Or I would have sworn it was.
Let's examine these walls, Watson. That's your secret tunnel. Ventilator. No method of entrance here.
Well, you'll find no flaws, I'm sure. This room is built like a giant safe. And the time lock on the door is equally solid.
Is the time lock working now?
Yes. It started 5 minutes ago when we opened the door. But don't worry. It's perfectly safe with the door open.
But when the door's closed, it couldn't be reopened again, I take it, Sir Henry.
Not until the morning, Doctor, no. I had the lock specially designed.
Very ingenious. This presents as pretty a problem as ever I've tackled, Sir Henry. A large painting stolen and a fake one substituted in a sealed room to which only you have access. I must confess the how seems utterly impossible.
Remember what you always say, Holmes. Throw out the impossible, and whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the possible.
Let's consider the who for a moment. Is your butler absolutely reliable?
Absolutely.
And how about Miss Jackson?
Oh, completely trustworthy. Brought letters of recommendation from most of the leading art galleries in London. Intelligent, too. And serious-minded. She's made a deep study of mathematics as well as her knowledge of painting.
Mathematics? How do you know that, Sir Henry?
Well, she had a book with her the other day. I'm surprised at the title. Could have been a novel, but no. It was called The Dynamics of an Asteroid. It was inscribed to her by the author.
Dynamics Asteroid, and inscribed to her by the author. Thank heavens for your memories, Henry. That book was written by Professor Moriarty. Violet Jackson must be an accomplice of his.
Violet?
The door! Someone slammed it shut.
Yes, and it's not very hard to guess who that someone is.
Oh, but I can't believe that Violet is a criminal.
Look, there's a note being pushed under the door.
Strike a match, will you, old fellow?
Right, you are. What's it say, Holmes?
Forgive my unladylike eavesdropping, but with Mr. Sherlock Holmes as near the truth as he is, I'm afraid it would be unwise for me to remain here any longer. On the other hand, you are in no danger of smothering in the strong room, but your imprisonment should delay my pursuit till morning. Violet Jackson.
She's escaped us, Holmes.
Don't worry, Watson. Miss Jackson's failure to procure the painting from Moriarty will land her in a far worse dilemma than anything we could subject her to. Moriarty has never tolerated failure on the part of his minions. A brilliant plot, old fellow, a brilliant plot. Moriarty is at the zenith of his powers. How fortunate that we were able to foil him.
What do you mean, foil him? My painting's been stolen.
Your painting, Sir Henry? Oh, no. It's here in this room.
What on earth are you talking about, Holmes?
You reminded me of my own dictum, Watson. I discarded the impossible. It was impossible that the picture had been stolen, therefore it had not been stolen.
You mean that this painting is the original, Grove?
Yes, of course, sir. Surely the whole plot is crystal clear now.
Just about as clear as porridge to me.
Well, then let me explain. The whole episode of Francois Dulac, the note to me, the empty hotel room, and the significant bloodstains and the apparent disappearance of Dulac were all part of Moriarty's plot. The real Dulac never left France. Moriarty created him in England to lure me into the case.
Why in thunder should he want to do that, Holmes?
Yes. I should think you're the last person he'd want on the scene.
Oh, on the contrary, sir. He knew that I'd grab at his bait, the apparent murder of a Greuze expert who would make it seem likely that your painting had a substitute, Sir Henry. He wanted me to test the painting, which I did. I fell into his trap very neatly.
The paint, Holmes. You said that it was no more than 20 years old.
Yes, my dear fellow, the answer should be obvious.
I see it. Violet was his accomplice, had prepared the painting beforehand, and carefully stripped off a piece of modern paint.
Exactly, Henry. And Moriarty had assumed, quite correctly as it turned out, that as soon as you thought your painting was a fraud, you'd want to get rid of it.
And that girl was going to take it out of this house with your full approval. And, of course, turn it over to Moriarty. What a fantastic scheme.
A devilishly clever one, old chap. If it hadn't been for your chance remark about the book on mathematics, Sir Henry, I'm very much afraid the young lady with the Gazelle might even now be on her way out of your house.
Holmes, I can't tell you how grateful I am. And I'm going to express that gratitude in a very material manner, I assure you.
Thank you, Sir Henry, but I wouldn't dream of accepting a fee for this case. I've been shockingly obtuse. I might easily have let them walk away with your treasure right under our noses.
We locked in here for the night, sir?
I'm very much afraid so, Dr. Watson. So I shouldn't be surprised if the butler notices our disappearance and comes looking for us. But he won't be able to open the door. It'll need a professional locksmith to get us out of here.
Oh, really? It looks as if we'll spend a very cheerful evening.
Don't be gloomy, my dear fellow.
Oh, gloomy?
You're locked in with one of the loveliest girls in history, and she's genuine at that. Strike another match, old chap, shall we? What? Let's look at her once again.
Doctor, that was not only a swell story, but I really learned something.
Oh, good, Mr. Bartell. And just what did you learn?
Well, this fellow Gruz, the painter...
Yeah?
I know this must sound stupid to you, but until you mentioned his name, I'd never heard of him before.
Holmes mentioned his name to me. I've never heard of him before either. But then... we'll never learn about the good things in this world unless somebody tells us.
Exactly. That's the way I feel about Petri wine.
Oh, no. Wait a minute.
Here's the way I look at it. There are thousands of people who know about Petri wine and love it, right?
Yes,
but even though it's a wonderful wine, there must be some people who don't know about it. So I tell them about it. And I tell them about the Petri family and how they've been making wine for generations and how they've been handing on down from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious grapes into delicious wine. Yes, and when I tell them that the name Petri on a bottle of wine is the personal assurance of the Petri family that every drop of wine in that bottle is good wine, well, that's all you have to know. So it adds up to this. If you want a fine wine for any occasion, you want a Petri wine, because Petri took time to bring you good wine. Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Final Problem. Music is by Dean Fossler. Mr. Rathbone appeared through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invite you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studios. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.